Welcome to the Committee of the Whole meeting of the Cape Coral City Council. Today is May 25th, 2022. This meeting now comes to order. Please stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Today I asked our community to say a prayer for the children and the two adults that lost their lives in Texas. 24 hours ago, those parents dropped those children off, probably gave them a hug and a kiss. Unfortunately, they didn't come home, and they're going to need our prayers in the next several weeks and for the rest of their life. So I asked our community to please say a prayer for those families, to give them strength to get through this unimaginable time. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, Your Honor. Before I call the roll, Councilmember Long has indicated that he will be arriving after the roll call, and I will mark him so. Mayor Gunter,
Here.
Council members Costin,
Here.
Hayden,
Here.
Nelson,
Here.
Shepard,
Here.
Tate, Welsh,
Here.
7 present and 1 excused.
Thank you. Item 4A is citizens' input time. A maximum of 60 minutes is set for the input of citizens on matters concerning city government. 3 minutes per individual. Please remember to state your name for the record. Anyone who wishes to utilize this time for citizens' input will use the podium to my left in front of the double doors.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to hold this. City Council, Mr. City Manager, and staff, appreciate the time to speak today. It's your quarterly Go Bond update, and you know I've been pretty passionate about talking about it for the last year, and I brought this chart up, as you know I do. Again, Tom Shadrack. The briefings for the last 2 sessions have left off a lot of the data that I'm highlighting in yellow here, where I worked real hard with Ms. Gerald Chisholm to get this data added to the quarterly reports for your information and the public's, but now it's been deleted. And I want to quickly just talk to you a little bit about the yellow items, anticipated project cost. You don't see that anymore in the briefings you're going to get today. I've provided it here for you. This was just data that's already been presented before, and it's getting old. It's information. The other one is the start dates. None of the projects that have started yet, all the dates that they anticipate starting have been removed from the briefing. You have no idea yet when those projects will start. And here we are sitting on year 4. And the last one highlighted there for the completion date, you got 2 parks that are supposed to be done by contract on July 13th. You got 1 report today that shows capital improvements that they're only 50% complete. With my math, that would put them around October. So that would be another question. If I was on that council, those 3 questions I would be asking and making sure the public had information about them, because I'm certainly not getting it. The bottom line there is promises made. We always talk about that, 11 parks, but we also promised that they'll all be done in 3 years and for $60 million. It's clear the other 2 pieces of that promise aren't being met. Just an interesting thing, you had the ULI here last week. They kind of mentioned the most important thing we should be doing is building community areas. And that's the last projects even being considered here under the Go Bonds. Probably won't be done for 6 or 7 years, even though they were supposed to start 3.5 years ago. My last thing to kick on is the yacht club. You've had a town hall meeting, and it was very clear that no one's happy with a 2-year closure plan. It's going to be a hot topic for the election this year for 4 of your seats. I hope we can come up with a better solution than closing the amenities down for 2 years to the public. That's the beach, the pier, the swimming pool, and the tennis courts. they're hardly being touched by the enhancements, and it doesn't hold water that it needs to be closed for safety when you're keeping the boathouse open the entire time. So, and this, if you close that down, this will also be an issue for the next election 2 years ago, if we're still in complete close down of the yacht club, and probably going to be delayed for a third year, the way things are going here. So thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mayor and council members. I'm Steve Averback, a resident of the Yacht Club. I'm one of the leaders of a group called Cape Coral Save Our Community. The group's comprised of about 1,000 Cape Coral residents. As a group, we have many concerns. While we're pleased that the city wants to upgrade some of the facilities at the Yacht Club, extending the beach, and replacing the seawalls, and moving the boat ramp, we do not want the Yacht Club closed for years. We support a phased approach to construction. If the Boathouse restaurant can remain open, then the beach, pool, and tennis courts should be able to remain open as well. We do not want a parking garage where residents pay to park. This was not part of the GO bond. No one I've spoken with in the last 36 months is in favor of a garage where residents pay to park. We have over 1,000 signatures on our petition to stop this pay-to-park garage, as it will not solve the parking issue with the Yacht Club. I challenge you to find one resident, other than a member of this council, who supports this multi-million-dollar pay-to-park garage project. Maybe the council can tell me that since the residents don't want a pay-to-park garage, then who is the garage being built for? A great example for the council to look at is the parking garage at Cape Harbor. Here, the pay-for-parking garages are always empty, while Chiquita Boulevard and the surrounding residential streets are full of cars, avoiding the $3 an hour parking fee. So please stop the garage, save the $10 to $15 million that this garage will cost. Instead, invest $10,000 in 2 parking kiosks, just like the ones they have on Sanibel Island, and charge only non-residents to park. The city manager pointed out to me in a letter that if we do not charge to park in the garage, then we would need to raise the property taxes to cover the garage construction. The residents are already paying increased taxes in the GO bond. So if the garage gets built, the residents will pay for this garage 3 times. First time is the GO bond, second time when the revenue bond is unable to cover the construction costs, and the third time is when the residents pay $3 an hour. Please stop this project. Regarding the Yacht Club Ballroom and Senior Center, the residents do not want those buildings touched. They're iconic and well utilized by the community. If we want to visit a restaurant, we can go downtown. Please save your money and maintain these facilities as required. So what would we like you to do as a council? Do not close our Yacht Club, but take a phased construction approach. 2, look at a parking kiosk solution where only non-residents would pay to park and save the city millions of dollars. Leave our historic ballroom and senior center alone. Just maintain the buildings properly. And finally, schedule a meeting at the Yacht Club with the residents and listen to what the community wants in terms of parking, construction plans, and building renovations. My group and I are available to meet with you to discuss this proposal in detail. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Michael Casey, a resident of Cape Coral. There's a fundamental difference of opinion between the mayor, council, and many residents. I'll borrow a phrase and call it a conflict of visions. The Yacht Club Community Park is one of the jewels of Cape Coral. We agree on that. The mayor and council believe they can commercialize it and transform it unlike any other because they know best. I believe the park belongs to all residents, not just the 8 of you. A major transformation that includes a parking garage, a 2-year closure, a new restaurant, and $60 million more should be voted on, not mandated. This was not part of the GO bond. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak during citizens' input, please come forward. Seeing none, citizens' input is now closed. Is there any council discussion on citizens' input? Anything I'll say as far as my input on what was said here this morning, I will wait to that particular topic of discussion later on in the agenda, and we'll give my comments then. Seeing no other comments, we'll move on to item 4B, which is discussion. 4B1 is the 2022 hurricane season kickoff. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning. Good morning, members of City Council, ladies and gentlemen in the council chambers. You know, June 1st is right around the corner. This is the time of the year that we look forward to spending time with family as our children, grandchildren, and so forth complete their time in school, and we look forward to family vacations. But it's also the time of the year where we sort of dread, because we know it's the start of hurricane season. And from June 1st through the end of November, we pay very close attention to weather forecasts. We pay very close attention to what's happening in off the coast of Africa and in the Caribbean. And so we can never become complacent and let our guard down, because, as you know, it only takes one storm to cause substantial havoc and destruction and loss of life in a community. And so I'm going to have Chief Ryan Lamb come to the podium and lead you through a discussion this morning on what you can expect for this year's hurricane season. Chief Lamb.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Ryan Lamb, Fire Chief. I also serve as the Emergency Management Director here for the city. So every year, as we look towards hurricane season, as the City Manager mentioned, we can then project a busy season, we could project a slow season, but if it's a busy season and they all miss us, it's good. If we have one hurricane and it hits us, it's a bad year. So when we look at these projections, we take it with a little bit of a grain of salt, but certainly every year, while we are a all hazards department, we look at making sure we're prepared for cyber attacks, to tornadoes, all these other things. We want to make sure our predominant threat, largest threat to our community is hurricanes. So we want to make sure we are prepared for that. And so every year, I've never been on a perfect incident. I've never been on a perfect hurricane response, but we always try to continuously improve. We try to tweak every year to make sure that we are providing the best service that we can as we get additional resources or some of the variables change across our community to make sure we're putting our best foot forward. And I would certainly say that with what we've got from our emergency management staff, the rest of our city staff, and even our community partners that you're going to hear from today, it is truly a whole community approach that we are taking to responding and preparing for these hurricanes, to making sure that we are as ready as we can be. If I get the slides up. So just a bit of a graph here. So certainly we are preparing year-round. A lot of folks sometimes ask, what is emergency management doing when it's not hurricane season? This is when they get all the work done. It's when we put all the plans in place, build all the plans, get the agreements in place. But certainly, as you look at this, if we see a threat coming at 96 hours, 72 hours, 48 hours, 24 hours, those are trigger points for us for decision-making based off of the severity of the storm and its projected path. When that disaster occurs, we have that immediate response, that short-term impact that we're looking at of taking care of those immediate life threats. Then we get out to some of the long-term or the intermediate things, which takes weeks to months, some of the cleanup, as we deal with debris and some of those other pieces that will impact our community. And then into the long term as we look at the financial recovery of our community. And that's an important part that we have to make sure we don't forget, is the financial impact that these storms will have on our community. Something like Hurricane Irma cost the city $17 million, and that's what I would consider a least case event, right? That's the least amount that we could expect from a hurricane, and definitely significantly more. As we look at some places around Mexico Beach after Hurricane Michael, if homes are destroyed, there's no more ad valorem value there, so that cripples those communities for a period of time. So trying to get those things prepared for us so that we can be resilient to bounce back as a community. So just to touch on some pieces here, I'm just going to go through a few things, and we have some community partners that are going to come up and quickly give you some information of what they're doing to help us as a city be prepared for hurricane season. So quickly to review the local state of emergency that's in our city code of ordinances. The city manager has the power, duty, and authority to declare a local state of emergency. But just to clarify some points, when we declare that local state of emergency, it gives the city manager power to do some of these things. It doesn't mean that they automatically go in place. So we can implement emergency plans, make emergency expenditures. We can collect debris. One of the big ones, it doesn't immediately suspend alcohol sales and it doesn't immediately put a curfew in place. It just gives us the ability to do those things based on the complexity of the specific incident that we have in front of us. So as far as the disaster declaration process, and I know this is a busy slide, but there's a lot that occurs. As soon as that storm comes through, one of our primary goals is going out and doing what we call impact surveys. It's important to get that information as quickly as possible so that we can try and gauge what that impact is to our community, so we can get that information to the county, who can get it to the state, who can get it to the federal government to make emergency declarations. Oftentimes, we're seeing that those declarations are being made by the state and even presidential declarations in advance of a storm, but it's important that we do that quickly so that we can maximize our reimbursement as a community. There is a dollar value threshold that we have to meet, so that's why it's important. It's also important that we remember that reimbursement is not 100%. So when we look at some of the expenses that we incur as a city, we won't be getting all of that money back from FEMA or even the state government. Oftentimes, reimbursement takes years to get back. The state of Florida is putting in a new program called FROC, but is trying to get some of that money back quicker. So if we were severely impacted, you could potentially get that, you could expend the funds, get it back so you could recycle that back into recovery from that incident. But I think Hurricane Charlie, we were still closing out some audit issues from FEMA 10 years after the storm. So these things are not quick. And it's also important that we work on things like the Small Business Administration and individual assistance to help, like I said, businesses and individuals get back on their feet. So that's it's a key focus for us. And then just to also mention, this question we frequently get is, when does emergency services stop as far as when our storms do approach? So when there's a sustained wind of 45 miles an hour, we have put weather stations. This is something new this year. We have 6 weather stations we've strategically deployed across the city. So it's not a gust, it would be sustained winds at 45 miles an hour. There's actually some studies that show at 50 miles an hour it's difficult to actually stand upright. And there's also the debris and the other things that could potentially impact police, fire, public works crews that are going out. So once we shelter in place and those winds subside, what we do from every fire station, they become little community hubs, and we do what's called the first push. So at every fire station, what comes out is a front end loader, a fire truck, and a cop car. And so they push back out, and what we do is we hold any emergency calls that happen during that time. And so we have supervisors and dispatch that will prioritize, we're going to go to somebody having a heart attack before we're going to go to a power line sparking on a palm frond. So that's important. However, in these things, I just want to continue to echo for the community and anybody that when we call for an evacuation, we don't do that lightly. It's because we know that we're going to be reducing some of our service availability, and also for the individuals that need special needs shelters, want to make sure they get them to the areas that need to get protected. So we're going to run through some of our other community partners, and we're going to start with Ms. Ray from NBC2. Ma'am.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me. I'm Allison Ray, the Chief Meteorologist at NBC2. I've been the chief here for about 5 years. Just want to give a little bit of talk about what we're expecting this year. And Chief Lamb kind of took the words out of my mouth, where the hurricane outlooks you do have to take with a grain of salt. Doesn't matter if it's a real active season or a so-called less active season. It all depends on what is headed our way and what type of storm that is and how big it is. Oops, I don't think my slides are in here. I thought that they were. Well, I can kind of wing it here. So we are expecting a very active season. The National Hurricane Center came out with their outlook last year that we are expecting an active season. But think about 2020, the most active season we had on record. That was really not an active season for us here in Southwest Florida, but Louisiana was in the forecast cone 8 times that year. They had 4 hurricanes that year. So just because we had Irma 5 years ago does not mean we're going to wait a couple years for another big storm. We could have 4 big storms this year. We could have 0. So we are calling for an active season up to 21 named storms. There was also seasons, we had a 10-year drought within, from 2005, or 2006 to 2016, that we did not have any major hurricanes make landfall in the U.S. during very active hurricane seasons. So it doesn't matter if we have 30 named storms this year or 5. It depends what heads our way. On average, we get an indirect hit from a tropical storm or a tropical system every 2.5 years. So we're due for some type of hit. On average, we get a hurricane or a direct impact every 8 to 9 years. So once again, that could be any year now. And on average, we get a major hurricane in Southwest Florida every about 16 years. But look at Louisiana just in 2020. They didn't wait 16 years after Katrina. They had 4 hurricanes in 1 year. So I just want to make sure everyone's prepared for what could head our way. And one thing I really tried to mention is that, you know, here in Florida, we get very used to storms headed our way, and everyone really concentrates on the wind speed and the category of that storm. And as Floridians, sometimes we say, oh, it's just a tropical storm or just a Category 1. We've seen storms change over the years, especially as our waters get really warm and as our air gets warm. That air can hold more water, and we've seen storms slow down because of how our wind direction and our wind speeds change based on different temperature differences across the globe. So tropical storms and category and hurricanes are starting to move so much slower. Think of Hurricane Harvey, think of Hurricane Dorian. Think of a storm that's only moving 5-6 miles per hour that can dump 20-30 inches of rain. And that's going to be the more likely scenario that we have to prepare for than a Category 5 hurricane. We're much more likely to see a huge flooding risk due to rainfall than a Category 5 strong storm. I'm sure that will come one day. I hope it doesn't. But we are far more likely to have to deal with significant flooding concerns due to a slow-moving storm producing substantial amount of rain that, frankly, has nowhere to go. So rainfall and storm surge are something we're going to be looking at more likely in the near future, and it's more of a risk. We've seen if you look at the top 10 storms that have produced the most amount of rain from tropical systems, we've cracked the top 10 5 times just within the past 6 years. So getting at least 20 inches of rain from one storm is becoming more and more of an issue that we can see. So I think my slides aren't here, but I just want to reiterate that, you know, it doesn't take 30 storms. It could be 30 storms that all head out into the Gulf or into the Atlantic. It could be 5 storms that all head our way, and we need to be prepared for that. My biggest example is 1992 with Hurricane Andrew. That was a very quiet season, climatologically speaking. There was only 7 named storms that year, just 7. And we waited all the way until August before we had our first named storm, and it was a hurricane, and it was Hurricane Andrew. So when you look at a year that has a strong El Nino and not as warm waters, but we still were able to get Category 5 Hurricane Andrew on Florida's doorsteps, that's something to look at this year. We are expected to have a La Nina, which creates a better environment for these storms to develop, and very warm water. So we're basically giving the storms all the food and energy that they need to sustain, to be strong storms and powerful storms with rain. If you watch me on NBC2, I'll be talking about rain, rain, rain all the time, especially when it comes to Cape Coral, because we know some areas that have problems with some water drainage. So that's kind of my spiel, and sorry if my slides weren't in there, but we'll be here for you, tracking all the threats and letting you know, even if it's just a tropical storm or a hurricane, exactly what we can expect here, whether it's 3 inches of rain, 20 inches of rain, 20-mile-per-hour winds, 60-mile-per-hour winds. Every storm is going to have those different threats, and we're here to explain that to you guys for you. Thank you.
Ms. Donna Tremaine?
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Donna Germain, President and CEO of the Chamber of Commerce of Cape Coral. We were asked just to share some quick tips on how to better prepare your business for hurricane season or if the threat of a hurricane is near. Number one, prepare a plan and practice it. Organize a planning team of key individuals within your business. Test your plan. Educate your team through training, drills, recovery testing, and mock disasters. Your plan is only effective if it can properly be executed. Back up your data. Work with your IT company or IT staff to ensure that backups are performed in a timely manner and that they are stored in a facility that is safe, secure, and dependable. Most businesses have switched over to the cloud, but in the event that you are still using a server, that is a very good tip for your business information. Protect your site. Protecting your building and equipment is instrumental in continuing or restoring operations in the event of a hurricane. Boarding up windows with shutters or other valuable equipment can protect a building from high-speed flying debris. In the event that you must shut your building or business down temporarily, work with your team to establish shutdown procedures and ensure that they are part of your overall recovery plan. Don't forget to include post-procedures, startup to facilitate reoccupation of the site after the storm has moved on. And operate remotely. Inability to access your building is a highly probable occurrence when a hurricane approaches. Roads may be flooded or closed by authorities. Employees may be unable to leave their homes or in a state of emergency may be unwilling to leave their families. It is very important to plan for the scenario, develop a method to operate the critical components of your business remotely. COVID taught us a lot of how to work from home, so many of us have already applied this practice to our day-to-day business and being able to be flexible, whether we're working from home or working out of our building. And technology has allowed us to do this as well. Establish an on-site support plan. Some employers may choose to provide support for their employees' families while the employee is engaged in the community, in business community continuity. Employers can provide transportation, daycare, and lodging to families. Emergency loans, disaster assistance funds, and other financial assistance should be considered for your support personnel. Most importantly, be flexible. Employee support is instrumental to business success. If you provide support to your employees, they will be able to provide support to you and your business should an emergency occur. Implement effective communication strategy. Communications are often important to any business entity. In the event of a pending hurricane, it becomes even more crucial. Communications are needed to coordinate emergency activities, to implement the recovery contingency plan, to warn employees of impending danger, inform families and off-duty personnel of what's happening, and to maintain contact with customers and suppliers. And last, expect the unexpected. Remain flexible and adaptable. You should also remember that the nature of the hurricane will influence your recovery direction. The best defense against unexpected is to prepare, plan, and practice. We've also been working with the EOC in regards to a business resilience virtual dashboard. We learned very quickly through Hurricane Irma and also COVID that there needs to be a place where businesses or residents can go to get the most updated information. So we've been working with the EOC over the last year to develop this dashboard. It will also, we're hoping to have it launched mid to late summer, and it will be a resource for our businesses to not only submit their information in the case of a disaster, but also to get community information so we know the statuses of our businesses and the damages throughout the city. So we're very excited for that to come to fruition. We've worked on it a long time, and so hopefully that will be a good asset to our city as well in communicating in times like this. Thank you.
Mr. Billy Johnson from the CCCIA. I will mention that Mr. Main and Mr. Johnson are both have seats in the EOC that, like she mentioned, as soon as we can get Publix or Ace Hardware or other businesses back open, the quicker our community can recover. And then also, helping those small businesses get the word out that they are back open, or letting them know which contractors are good licensed local contractors.
Thank you, Chief Lamb. Good morning, Mayor, Council, members of staff. Bill Johnson Jr., Executive Director and CEO of the Cape Coral Construction Industry Association. The CCCIA kind of holds two different stands when we are dealing with a storm such as a hurricane. We kind of look at before the storm, during the storm, and after the storm. Before the storm, the CCCIA focuses all its efforts on two things, which you'll see one of them on the slides is informing the residents, making sure their shutters are put up the right way. We did receive calls during Irma with people who needed help, and we, put them in touch with people that could help them out and do that. But the most important thing that we do prior to storms, as you all may know, there's a lot of building going on in this city right now. So what we do as an association is we work with the fire department, we work with the police department in order to get with all of our contractor members and members of the construction trade in general to make sure that all of their job sites are completely cleaned up, secured, because as you know, with many storms that come through here, wind is a key factor. Yes, we have the rain, but the last thing that we need on our residents worried about is with a construction site sitting next door to their house, construction debris flying at anywhere from 30, 40, 50 mile an hour plus into their home. So during Irma, for example, we had a very successful push in getting a lot of those job sites cleaned up and maintained so that that would not be an issue. During the storm, we kind of just act and monitor. We go out after the storm for damage assessment. As Chief Lamb says, we have a seat in the EOC. We work with the Planning Division and the Department of Developmental Services as far as looking at, what can be reopened, what can do that, and what contractors that we can utilize and help get those services open as soon as possible to keep our city moving and not shut down. One of the biggest things that we talk about after the storm, like Chief Lamb said, was utilizing licensed contractors. It's one of the things that I've preached for the years that I've been doing this presentation for the city, is that when you get a storm, say like Irma or like Charlie or like Wilma, that comes through this area and damages people's homes, that's sometimes their most important item that they have. You would be amazed at the amount of people that come out of the woodwork, not even from our area, that do not have a license, that are not qualified to do work in our city, that are looking to prey on these people's fear, look to prey on their situation. And we really work with the community to let people know that if you're going to get work done in your home, make sure that you use a licensed contractor. It's not a hard thing. Most work that needs to be done with a building contractor, they have to have their license number on all of their information that they present to you. Don't go with the guy that just walks up and says, hey, I can fix that. We have a tarp. We can tarp it now. These are the lowest form of people that are out there. They're looking to prey on people and take advantage of the situation. I know the chief does a great job with the police department and policing these areas. We had some issues when the tornado came back years back, that these people come out of the woodwork, and we really strive to let people know that not only use a licensed contractor, but they potentially could have liability, because if you utilize an unlicensed contractor on your home, not only if they get hurt on your property, you as the homeowner are liable for it. But if they do subpar work, some guy says, well, I can fix that electric in your house. You don't need a permit. Don't worry about that. It's a minor repair. And something were to happen to that house and it was to catch fire and burn down. Well, the first thing they're going to do when they do their investigation is check to see if all the proper permits were placed to fix, because they knew there were damage to the house. If there was no damage in that, then there's a good chance that insurance company can deny that claim. I tell people it's not something that you should be terrified of, but be mindful. Always ask to see a license. If they are a licensed contractor and they are properly licensed, insured, they will not have a problem showing that to you. And it really makes all the difference, especially when dealing with the damage in the aftermath of a storm. Thank you.
Good morning. Anthony Sizemore, Police Chief. I'll speak briefly, going over a couple of points that have already been made. But with evacuations and reentry procedures, we do not take it lightly when we call for an evacuation. That's a decision made by Unified Command. And the reason for that, like Chief Lamb said, is we're just simply not able to respond to your location for an extended period of time when those winds get to a certain threshold. We do not have the authority to forcibly or physically remove people during an evacuation. That's a question that comes up oftentimes. However, rather than forcibly removing someone, we just simply tell them we're not able to come and help you during that time. As far as re-entry procedures, we do not have a comprehensive plan for checking IDs or denying entry or re-entry back into the city. For a city our size, that's really not industry standard. That's something for smaller beach community types with one ingress and egress into a geographical area. We have way too many entry and exit points in the city, and it would be quite a nightmare to be able to police that and have our residents be delayed even further. However, if there is a particular pocket in the city that has sustained a significant amount of damage, we are able to restrict access to a particular area. An example of that would be if the northern end of the city is relatively untouched, say for some power outages, but south yacht club area is underwater. Well, we wouldn't shut down or impede access to the entire city. We would be able to effectively do that with a scalpel rather than a chainsaw, if you will. It was also touched upon with curfews and restriction of alcohol sales. That's a Unified Command decision that oftentimes we will liaison with Lee County EOC and our sister cities in the area. Those are certain decisions that you want to make regionally. An example of that was when COVID happened. If one community closes their beach and the other one keeps it open, you're going to get a large influx of people. Very similar to curfews. You don't want to leave our streets open and then surrounding areas enact a curfew and then people think it's open season on Cape Coral, and we don't do that to our partner cities as well. A lot of those decisions are community-based that our Unified Command will make. And other than that, we are here open 24/7, just like any other day. We split the operation in half. We have our traditional responding to calls for service when we're back open, and then the other half of our building is in doing all the ancillary and security measures, such as one particular gas station has fuel when others do not. We'll be there to referee customers. There's a truckload of generators coming into Lowe's at 2 o'clock. We'll be there to make sure that it runs orderly, and any other ancillary duty that comes up post-storm and in recovery. So, thank you.
Morning, Mayor and Council. Michael Chisholm, Public Works Director. In advance of a storm, Public Works is out making sure that we have all our fuel lines topped off. We're staffing fire departments. We put multiple personnel in each one with a heavy equipment piece, basically a loader, a pickup truck, and after the storm hits, then Public Works will work with the station that they're deployed at. They determine where that station needs to report to, and they will go out in advance of that, that truck or that engine, and they will clear the road for them to make sure they can get to those triage calls in an expeditious manner. We call that first push, so we're actually staging staff from Public Works out in the fire stations with heavy equipment and machinery so that they can respond appropriately. In advance of the storm, the Weir protective measures, we meet interdepartmentally with the fire department and the utilities department. Typically during this time of the year, we're trying to capture water in the canal system, so it's used for irrigation during the dry season. So when a storm is coming and we're in the cone, we're looking at trying to prevent the loss of that resource, but at the same time, we're balancing the decision with flooding. And so as we continue to track the storm as it gets closer to us, We have interdepartmental meetings, and eventually, if we need to, we will pull the weirs, the risers, we will drop the levels in the canals, and that really gives us the capacity to handle the amount of rain that comes from the storms. After the storms go past us, we work on debris management, solid waste, restoring all the facilities, and just bringing everything back up online. Thank you.
Good morning, Mayor, Council. Alvin Henderson, Emergency Management Division Manager. I get the pleasure of reporting out what our emergency management staff has been working on since last season. As you recall, we had a quite extensive report, a after-action report from Irma that had several recommendations in it. We also went through a audit process with the city auditor and looked at our operation in its entirety and worked on updating our plans and procedures to implement a lot of lessons learned from that event, but also we held a functional exercise back on March 1st, testing these new policies and procedures, and still today we're fine-tuning those processes to make sure that we're efficient and effective with our response to not only hurricanes, but any type of incident or event that we would activate the Emergency Operations Center. Some of those actions included the new community risk reduction specialist already out in the community making some great strides with our at-risk population. For example, he has been out visiting our dialysis centers throughout the city, making sure that they have their plans in place to try to keep that service open to the residents throughout any type of situation that may arise. Likewise, our new emergency management coordinator has been working very closely with all of our department directors, working on continuity of operation plans for each individual department throughout the city as well. So we feel that we've made some great strides in our plans and procedures, and with the help of all the department directors, are better prepared today than what we were last year, and that's always our goal, is that constant quality improvement process. Ideally, what we're looking at is a resilient community. So as you heard from some of our community stakeholders today, we've been deeply engaged with them, trying to make sure that we're providing solid information out to our community. For example, the information that Bill Johnson shared, but also, most importantly to us also, are our small businesses and all businesses actually within the city to try to make sure that they have plans and procedures in place that they could actually help us by remaining open and providing service to our citizens, visitors within our community. So again, we're using that all-hazard approach, even though today is a kind of a focus on our hurricane season upcoming, but we do look at all threats, all vulnerabilities that face our city, and currently in a process that we're actually updating our community risk assessment. So we're trying to keep all our information very fresh based on current population rate and where we're at as a whole within the community, and then in partnership with Lee County Emergency Management as well. We always say all disasters are local, so it starts and ends with us here within the city, but we do have a very good working relationship with the folks at Lee County Emergency Operations Center, their Emergency Management Division, and also the Florida Division of Emergency Management as we plan. We try to do things and have contracts in place that allow us to be self-sustainable, but also in our time of need, if we would have unmet needs, be able to quickly reach out to our partners, whether it be at the county or state level, to receive that assistance that we would need. One of the things that we looked at very closely was reconstructing, if you will, the Emergency Operations Center, moving away from what we call in the fire and law enforcement services a incident command system structure to what we now refer to as Community Lifeline construct for our Emergency Operations Center. That allows us to pull in all of our departments into the Emergency Operations Center, capitalize on their subject matter areas of expertise that they do, what we call blue sky operation, day in and day out, and how that applies to that emergency that we have faced with, whether it's a hurricane or a storm or any type of event. Through that process, we're working with each of these groups that you see on the screen currently. There's 7 main structures, but it also breaks down into the subsections of each of those groups on providing services that fall in, for example, food, water, and shelter. It's not only looking at providing that capability to our emergency workers, but if there were people in shelters that need assistance with food and water, that we're addressing those needs as well. And it's really truly looking at all the lifelines that make up our community and make it so resilient and a very livable city, if you will. So that's what we're very much focused on, is all those services that are provided to the citizens and the community at large and our area businesses as well, and making that our priority on restoration of those services. Finally, also the other area that we look at is information sharing and trying to make sure that we're able to share local impact information without any type of national media hype that a lot of times you see within those broadcasts. So what we do with that Emergency Operations Center flash report is when we see that we're in that cone area from that storm system, we will start putting out information that you'll receive through Unified Command on what the local impact thought is, how big, how bad that storm is, and what our stance is prepared to be based on that localized impact. And then that provides you a pretty good snapshot and insight of what we're prepared for, what we're looking at, so we could quickly respond to that storm system, and then most importantly, recover and get the city back into its normal operations. Chief?
Again, thank you, Mayor and Council, for your leadership in this. And I would say from staff's perspective, it's a priority to the city manager. It's a priority to us as the staff that we are all putting our best foot forward towards this. We are making strides every year to get better. And it does take an entire community to prepare for one of these storms, which is why we're engaging so many community stakeholders. So if you guys have any questions, happy to answer.
Thank you, Chief. I'll open up to Council. Councilmember Hayden?
Yeah, Chief, one group I'm surprised we didn't have here today was LCEC and their plans for getting us up with power, because that's obviously a major concern for people. Certainly was with Charlie, certainly was with Wilma, Irma. Can you kind of lay out for people the grid prioritization and how it works? And if I know they brought in crews from other areas to assist us when we've had those storms, can you kind of update us on what their plan would be?
Sure. So Ms. Trish Lassiter from LCEC does have a seat in the EOC as one of those community lifelines that is very important to us. We know power is there. We're trying to be a little mindful of time, so they didn't have much new this year that they were working through, but we certainly integrate well with them. We have GIS maps. We're trying to go as digital as possible, especially for mapping, because as soon as we print out a map or draw on a map, it changes and it's out of date. And so we're going digital there so we can see and track those. I believe individuals at home can even see where some of those things are. But there is prioritization. Obviously, we want to get power restored to the hospital or power restored to some of that critical infrastructure, water plants, those other things as quickly as possible. So there is a prioritization that they go through. And then they also go out and look at how can they affect the most residents at once? And also some of this is if it's as simple as going to flip a breaker versus having to replace lines, some of those things take additional time. So we work closely with them. Again, Trish is there in the EOC, and we talk very frequently when we have those outages because it is a large priority. Especially these time of the year that we get these storms, it's very hot. Air conditioning just isn't a comfort. A lot of times, especially for the elderly population, it's a health need. But everything from that to helping oxygen machines run, it's very important. Just like utilities for making sure we get potable water and sewage taken care of. Those are key infrastructure pieces that we certainly work with and work closely with.
And my other question was, obviously, of a city over 200,000, I think we have access to one shelter. Is that correct?
Yes, so shelter availability is a statutory authority of the county. And so one of the things that we advocate and we work with them on, out of the 200,000 people, as you'd mentioned, Island Coast High Schools are only recognized and approved shelter. That's 3,000. They'll they'll push in extra and go up to 3,300. But you're approaching almost 1 million people in Lee County, and I think there's shelter availability for less than 40,000.
So then, how do we handle it? Because obviously accessibility to shelters on the other side of the river is a lot easier than what it might be here. In the event that a storm is imminent and evacuation leaving the city may not necessarily be an issue, are we encouraging people to go to one of those other shelters? Are we encouraging them to stay in there? How do we work it when somebody really wants to go to a shelter, but their life could be in danger when they get on the road?
Well, if I can, I'll back up just a little bit to the beginning of that. And so we would encourage everybody in advance of a storm to have a family plan. What's going to work best for you and your family. After Hurricane Irma, which was the largest U.S.-based evacuation in U.S. history, because it was East Coast, West Coast, there were so many people, it put such a huge demand on infrastructure, right? We had highways that were packed, we had limited fuel supplies, and so the adage that we're across the entire state is being used is run from the water, hide from the wind. So really, historically, as we look back on the almost 100 years of storm data, storm surge is what kills people. And so we're asking people, if you're in that storm surge evacuation area, to get out of that area. Now, that doesn't mean you need to go to Maine. We just need to get you a little bit away from the coast. And so whether they be friends or family, or being able to get a hotel room, I know what's one of my family's plans is to look at, depending on the track of the storm, either going to Fort Lauderdale or Palm Beach County or going up to Orlando, depending on which way the storm's kind of looking. Shelters are good. They provide a place for people to go. However, I would say they are a life raft, not a cruise ship. You're going to get a cot and a duct tape square on a gym floor. You're not going to get a lot of those other pieces. And so we do work with Palm Beach County or Broward County so that they can do host sheltering for individuals that need to go there. But shelter limited space is not, again, from Collier County, Lee County, Charlotte County, everybody in our coast has this challenge because we don't have a lot of large infrastructure outside of that surge zone. So it is certainly a challenge. One of the things that we do look at, and it's not something that we like to advertise, but it is something that we will do our best to look at, is if we advertise where those evacuations are occurring. But I remember vividly having calls 4 hours before impact with a individual in their 90s living south of Cape Coral Parkway that saw the track of the storm and is now scared. And so that's difficult. If we can do it safely, we will go remove that person, and then we open up what's called last resort shelters. And so we don't like doing that. The school board doesn't like us cutting the locks off of a school and sticking people in there. But certainly when there's a life threat and we have the ability to try and save or protect a life, we will take extreme measures to save life.
Thanks. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Tate.
Thank you. Can we, or do we have a list of all the shelters posted on our website? And can we start digital, or whatever they call that, social media presence on shelters so we have them available, as well as places that they can take their pets, dogs, cats, and birds? I know in Irma, we had a real problem with that. And I know we don't have shelters, so any suggestions, and if you can, if you can do it on social media, that would help a lot. And Billy, I have a question for you. Seawalls is always a problem in these big storms. Is it possible that you can work through your industry and educate people on what they should be looking at their seawalls now, if there's anything they can do to protect them during this, prior to us having a storm? I know there's not barriers, but for people that might have little cracks or things that they need to be aware of, because it was such a huge problem when they backwashed in Irma. So if there's anything your industry can do to help the homeowners, and Donna through the chamber as well, I think that would be a caution that we never really remember to look at. So thank you. Thank you for the information.
I could just mention to the shelter piece. So on capecoralfire.com/emergency management, there's a know your zone, so you can type in your address and it will tell you which evacuation or storm surge zone you're in. So that's a tool that's there. The Lee County All Hazards Guides, which we will reference on Department and city social media has the list of those shelters. And all Lee County shelters are pet-friendly now. It includes, in addition to snakes, or to dogs, cats, birds, it does include snakes and llamas, which is some of the ones that we had.
Hey,
So.
all inclusive.
Yeah, it's like Noah's Ark. But so we have those. And I would also mention again, for special needs folks, if you need power for oxygen machine, get in contact early so we can get you pre-registered for a special needs shelter. There is special pre-registration for some of those individuals with special
And I
needs.
have had that with LCEC, and they were kind enough to bring out small little portable generators for people that were in those emergency situations. I know you just rattled off that website, but it's so difficult for someone in an emergency to go, oh wait, what was that website? That's why I'm asking quick, concise, little thing we can share on social media, stick it on your refrigerator as a magnet, so we have it, so when somebody needs one, they're not gonna remember that site. And they're not gonna have the Lee County All Hazards Guide, I guarantee you. They're gonna call their council people and say, where do we go? So we need the cheat sheet as well.
Yes, ma'am. And just to mention that as well, as with the city manager creating the community communications division here within the city,
Right.
we have integrated that into the EOC. We'll change the billboards. There'll be one repository for all information so we can share correct and timely information. And we would ask council members to do the same to help echo that same information so we're putting out consistent, accurate, and timely information.
Yeah, that's really a benefit, having that communications department. Thank you, thank you.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up something a little different. As you know, if a resident wants to buy like a lawn shed or something like that to put in their yard, that we have regulations for them to be secured to the ground so they don't become a hazard in a hurricane and blow around the city and destroy property. What I've noticed as a council person is we have two large retailers, Lowe's and Home Depot, that they have an area designed in their building for extra product storage. They've literally turned them areas into retail sections, and now their parking lots became their storage lot. What I'm worried about is I've counted 5 to 6 different style sheds in their parking lots. What were to happen if we had an emergency? Do they have the ability to get them sheds and put them inside their building? I don't think they do have the ability because, like I said, they've turned them areas into retail areas. And they have so much excess product in their parking lots, it's become an eyesore. I've seen products stacked in areas that are painted for fire, that they're not supposed to put anything at all, that they're supposed to be open for emergency situations. So I just wanted to know if we are acting on that. And there could possibly be other commercial businesses as well throughout the city that might have dangerous situations on their property that I don't know about. I'm just pointing out two that I've noticed at Lowe's and Home Depot. Thank you.
So certainly as it relates to the fire code, I know this is an issue that the fire inspectors are working on to make sure that individuals are complying with the fire code. Also, development services, code compliance is going to go work with those folks as well to make sure they comply with any codes. As it relates to hurricane preparation, we have a relationship with those businesses. We'll make sure that that is a point that we bring up and talk with them about because we are trying to reduce the risks of any of those other projectiles possibly being out in that community. So we want to limit that risk as much as possible.
Thank you.
Councilmember Long.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for this information. I know Councilmember Tate touched on it, but I think equally as important as having all these plans and policies in place is disseminating it to the public. So I was hoping maybe to hear from communications, but it sounds like some of that stuff was touched. I think it's important to make sure, and I think we would have some sort of resource, some page on the website that directs everything and condenses everything in an easy-to-read fashion. And one question that I had with regards to that page is we had ULI come through and give their report at the a few days ago now, and one of the things that they talked about was resiliency, and there was a comment that was made with regards to mitigation and preparedness that for every, I believe it was $1 that was spent, saved up to like 5 or 6 in recovery. So if we don't have that sort of thing on a page like that, as far as a disaster recovery page, I think it would be important that we make sure that we put that sort of thing in that information. That would be year-round. Obviously, it wouldn't be as pertinent in the eye of a storm, but something to have available something as simple as, I believe, bracing the tie beams on an older home, increased the wind resistance a certain amount. That sort of information would be important. And then another thing that I've seen municipalities have, and I'm not sure whether we have it or not, is they've utilized for their disaster pages a live GIS mapping with regards to like asset. I think you had touched that you might have something similar on the fire page, but to Councilmember Tate's point, I think it would be important to link that directly onto the city's website as well. You know, in the frenzy of the storm, it's not likely that a resident's going to go to the fire page. You know, in particular, I would imagine having everything in one place would be important. So something like that with maybe high-risk areas, flood mapping. I know that we have that in some form or another, but if it's not condensed or consolidated, I would maybe look into that as well.
So just to comment on a couple of things. So every year we do a hurricane kickoff. The last 2 years we've done, obviously with COVID was difficult. We tried doing a virtual one. We had very poor attendance last year, so we thought we could do it as kind of knock out two birds with one stone. We had about a similar resident attendance in today's meeting as our previous ones. So we do get around to the new residents club. We go out to the Chamber of Commerce luncheon, all these other places to try and push out this message this time of year. When we do end up with a storm, if we're going to set up something like that, it'll probably be, we're working with communications, so it'll be capecoral.gov/hurricane, you know, whatever that name is, and that'll go up on the billboards, and that'll be where we put out that information, so that there is one repository. So wherever you go to, if it's I think we've got it even set up, so as soon as you go to whatever that website is, even if you go to capecoral.gov or capecoralfire.com, it pushes you directly to that splash page. But we'll continue to make sure we're almost kind of running it like a blog where the most information is given daily, but there's some history. Trash collection seems to be one of the hot topics as we get there before the storm, and then even afterwards, what we do with debris. And if you will, I'll have Alvin touch briefly on the GIS map that we are trying to put together so that people can see, you know, some of that real-time information. Because like I said, as soon as you put out a PDF of a map, the information changes, and it happens very quickly. But everything from power outages to where we have boil water notices, those are all things that are already live on GIS. We can just need to get that pushed out so that community can see that.
Thank you, Chief. And we do have two GIS analysts that are to report to the Emergency Operations Center when we activate, and we do pull that information into a GIS map. We use a program called Crisis Track that allows us to track any road closures, and we also use that during the first push that you heard from the Public Works Director, that as we start to open those streets, that will be indicated on a GIS map that is part of our response out of the Emergency Operations Center, let alone any type of road closures or water situations. I know the Utilities Department uses GIS mapping very heavily for those type of notifications as well. That is all pulled into different map layers that we could display through the GIS analyst that's in the Emergency Operations Center, through our social media pages, and the main page for the city for that event.
Thank you. Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor. My comment question is for Mike. In terms of solid waste, I know you had mentioned solid waste, and I'm just thinking back in 2017 when we all experienced Irma, and I know that it was very challenging for us to get outside contractors to come in and pull the solid waste because we had Harvey in Houston. We had a myriad of storms that season in different parts of the Southeast. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about in terms of our preparedness for the solid waste collection, because we've had challenges with it, obviously, with our current vendor. And I know that in 2017, the city went out and tried to find outside vendors, but we kept missing them because they kept going to other parts of the country. So what is in terms when you talk about solid waste and the cleanup after, can you just expound a little bit upon that plan and how we intend to line up other contractors and vendors to come in?
Yeah, so within the past couple of weeks, our new solid waste manager attended the Governor's Hurricane Conference, made some new connections there, both at the state level and with vendors. We're looking at trying to find ways to get not just the large companies in, but also, you know, some of the smaller companies, And one of the initiatives that we're looking at is permitting additional sites as staging areas so that we can utilize them in a more localized area as opposed to having to do transport, all throughout the city. So that's one initiative we're taking. As you know, back then, Public Works staff ended up doing the collection work on the major roads because the limited amount of private sector people that came, they wanted to focus just on the local roads where they didn't have to set up MOT, didn't have to have chase trucks. So, we, as Chief Lamb said, there's no perfect event, never been to one.
Right.
And so we learned a lot of things on how to work with the industry during that event. And if need be, we'll utilize those again this time. But we're building upon that to try and have, like I said, more localized staging areas versus large consolidated ones. And, just having those vendors on in your phone, right? So if the ones that you have contracts with can't make it, but the ability to call somebody else and bring them in is, the things that Terry's working on, trying to make connections with as many people as possible so that we have those opportunities and they're out there.
Yeah, I think that's smart in terms of the variety and the vendor size, because I just remember the lots on Skyline that were just piled high with debris and became kind of a dumping ground free-for-all for all sorts of things beyond storm debris. So thank you.
If I can just add to that.
Yeah.
So one of the things when Hurricane Irma happened, we didn't have great contracts in place as a city. We were asking people to come help us. What we have done now as a city is we have gone out and we have we have primary, secondary, tertiary. I think we're up to 6 or 7 contractors. And so now when we call them, we're not calling to say, hey, can you come help us? We are saying we are activating your contract. You have to come or you're in breach. And so that was one of the things when we went through with those individuals to make sure that they had the availability. I don't want to hear you got a big contract in Miami-Dade or wherever and you're not coming here. You're coming or you're in breach. And so there's damages associated with that. And so we made sure that that was something that we put into place to make sure we could do that. Now, in addition to just the debris hauling, where they're at, of making sure we have contractors come in and do the tipping and the grinding to make sure that we have, that's where a bulk of our expense comes in, taking care of that, primarily horticulture debris.
While you're talking about tipping and grinding, I might as well mention another thing that we're looking at. So routinely, Public Works generates horticultural debris just from trimming trees on the right-of-way, vegetative, cleaning out swales, cleaning canal banks. And about 2 years ago, instead of grinding and then tipping that waste to the landfill, we brought in a burn box, permitted it through the fire department, went very well, basically reduced everything down to a pile of ash, and we had no complaints. So at the hurricane conference, we also got with the DEP, and we looked at the possibility of utilizing a burn box, or air curtain box, they call it, for hurricane debris. And so we've gotten material on that. So that will greatly reduce the amount of piles that you recall, and also we'll be able to cut down on the cost as well. Right. Because when you pay by the ton, all of that stuff is soaking wet. There's a lot of water weight, and that water weight goes into the landfill, and you're paying by the ton. Right. Whereas if you incinerate with a burn box, it's all natural. There's no painted materials, no art, no man-made materials. Only the vegetative stuff, it gets burnt up. So it gets oxidized. The box creates enough heat to where it's basically smokeless operation. So we're looking at exploring that possibility to reduce the amount of horticultural piles throughout the city after an event and reduce the cost for the restoration.
Good. Well, I'm grateful to hear that we are so proactive, so thank you all very much. I know there's another hurricane training, if you will, offered through the TDC in a couple weeks, so I'll be attending that as well, but this is great information. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Tate?
Just one final question, Mike. Do we need a permit for that box that you did?
So we've utilized the burn box for our own Public Works operations a few years ago, and it was permitted through the fire department. There has to be a licensed, state licensed fire official that, is on site during the use of it. As far as if your question is specific to the hurricane, that's what we're doing all that research right now. We just picked up information regarding that. There was a memo, I think, sent out by the DEP within the last month about the possibility of using them and certifying them. So it's an active research project we have going on right now. So I don't know. It may be permitted as part of our larger disposal sites, or it may be permitted as individual use. So I just don't have that answer at this point, but
Okay.
I'll get it.
Thank you.
Yes, and first I'd like to thank all the presenters here this morning to bring us up to speed on our preparedness in case there is an event here in our city. And I think what I've gotten out of this presentation that I want to make sure that our residents here is, just like we have a formalized plan, we ask that each resident in the city to have a formalized plan for their family as well. And I think when you take a look at that, our responsibility here at the city, I like our communications department to have a specific spot in our capecoral.gov webpage that they can go to for educational information at this time, some of the things that may help them formalize that plan. And also that same webpage can revert into an information page in the event that we do have a hurricane here coming towards us. So we want to get them into practice to go into the same spot is the point that I'm trying to make. First, it will be for informational purposes, for educational purposes, and then it will go automatically into informational purposes if we have an event here in our city. And if we can get them into that practice, they know exactly where to go to get that information. So hopefully our communications department, Mr. City Manager, you could possibly make that happen because as we all know, having a plan is going to be the best for everyone, no matter if it's us here at the city or the families that reside here in the city. An evacuation plan, that plan needs to be if we're staying here, and that plan needs to be if we have to evacuate. And I think that two-pronged approach, because many of those variables are different from one to the other, so having that plan in place is crucial in the time if we had a catastrophic event coming towards our city. So thank you for the presentation, and I know I look forward to the educational component for our residents.
Thank you very much for the discussion. We'll make sure we action any of these items. We appreciate the input from your perspective. Thank you very much.
Okay, item 4B2 is a quarterly capital improvement project update. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next item up is staff's opportunity to brief you on where we are with implementing key capital projects throughout the city. So we're going to have a variety of staff from the Office of Capital Improvements, from the Public Works Department, and our Utilities Department come up to the podium and walk you through key projects.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Bill Corbett, Design and Construction Manager, Office of Capital Improvements. Here we go. Here to present to you today our quarterly update of our capital projects, which do include our Utilities Extension Project, the Parks Go Bond Project, construction phase, major city facilities, as well as other miscellaneous projects assigned by the City Manager's Office or various city departments. It's estimated between design and construction, we'll have an estimated $225 million per year in projects coming from the Office of Capital Improvements. Just going to run through an update of all of these projects, first being the North 2 Utilities Extension Project. So this project is substantially complete. The second lift of pavement has been installed, and plumber's connections are approximately 93% complete. Next is North 1 UEP. This project design is 95% complete, and the east is 75% complete. This project was broken up in 2 phases due to the size of the project area. The west side is west of Del Prado Boulevard, and the east being east, which does include various improvements for both projects, including master pump stations, as well as other facilities to support the project. We're currently working with procurement to obtain pre-qualification for contractors for bidding on those projects. The North 3 UEP, currently we're working on the design scope and issuing an RFP to receive qualifications from design firms to engage in the start of the project. It's estimated that the project will be $15 million of design. The Parks Go Bond improvement projects, 9 out of 13 are currently in progress. Public Works is coordinating the design and permitting, and the Office of Capital Improvements is handling the construction. The Public Works Director will elaborate further on the Go Bond projects on the next presentation for the Go Bond Parks update. The Police Training Facility, this project is in progress. We have about 60% design complete, and right now just working with the architects on getting that done. This is a CMAR project. Fire Training Facility, 60% complete as well, $9 million estimated construction cost. Fire Station number 12, this project is completed, and it was completed on time and under budget. Fire Station 13, currently negotiating with the construction manager at risk, Wright Construction, and will be starting design shortly thereafter. New Fleet Facility, this is approved and coming to you for approval next week, June 1st. It is scheduled for City Council. The facilities master plan is currently approved at SAC. Stantec was selected, and we are working with them to negotiate the scope and fee for that project. We're currently working with Volkert to develop a bridge system master plan to identify our needs for our 140 bridges throughout the city. That project is approximately 30% complete with all of the bridge inspections completed. They are now developing all the recommendations for city approval. We are also doing a master plan on our weir system, 28 weirs throughout the city, working with AIM Engineering on that, and we are approximately 20% complete on that project with inspections of the weirs currently in progress. D&D boat ramp, $10 million estimated construction cost, working currently with the county on the interlocal agreement, and the design is approximately 60% complete. JC Park, we're currently negotiating with Pannoni & Associates for this project, and once negotiations are complete, the project will start, the design project will start. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. I now open up the council for any questions that you may have. You know, I think most of this information that we've received recently, but I do appreciate the presentation. It still keeps our citizens informed of projects that we have either we've recently completed or are coming forward. So thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is 4B3, Quarterly Parks Go Bond Update, and I guess I will turn that over to Mr. Ilchism.
Good morning again, Mike Ilchism, Public Works Director. I think if you wouldn't mind, what I'd like to do is just refresh everybody the process that we went through based on the comments in this morning during citizens' input. So the basis of all of these projects stems from the master plan, and the master plan had thousands of hours, dozens of meetings, and involved a lot of community input that came from many different aspects. If you just go back to the master plan and look at section 3.0, which is the needs and prioritization assessment, This was the formation of what the community wanted and how we got to what was going to be implemented as part of the master plan. Section 3.1, public outreach. There were numerous meetings held, public outreach meetings that had a series of issues and a series of events that took place in each of those meetings. They did I think 4 or 5 different exercises gathering input during those public outreach meetings. 3.2, interviews. They met with individual people and did interviews similar to the process we just did with the ULI. Section 3.3, focus group meetings. So there were focus group meetings set up on specific venues such as the yacht club or community parks like Festival Park. Section 3.4, statistically valid surveys were sent out, both by mail and by phone. And then section 3.5, there was an online survey that people could respond to. So the community went through thousands of hours of input and guiding Barth and Associates and the Parks and Rec Department on what the community wanted for each of these venues. And then in section 4.2, special venues, we arrive at the yacht club. And I want to just take a moment to read the language right out of the master plan on the yacht club. I'm sorry, this isn't on here, but you know, some of this stuff, I hear what the residents come and say during citizens input, but sometimes it's not based in the knowledge of what the community went through, how the GO bond passed and how it was successful, all of that legwork that staff and consultants put forward. But here's what the master plan specifically says about the yacht club itself. Facilities that do not require a waterfront location, including tennis courts, the pavilion, and the senior center, should be relocated to other sites to increase capacity for water-related uses. Now, you all know we've already taken down the pavilion. We attempted during the initial design to move the tennis courts, but the tennis players came in here, and then there was okay, let's reconsider this. But the community said, move the tennis courts and the senior center off of the yacht club to open up the waterfront access. Vehicular circulation should be reconfigured to provide a pedestrian-oriented, walkable environment, enhancing the resort-like character. And that's the goal, the resort-like character. A parking structure, perhaps with a rooftop restaurant, but with views to the river, should be constructed on the site of the existing tennis courts. Okay, we didn't do the rooftop, as you know. Again, when we were in design, residents came in and the rooftop bar and restaurant was put to bed. But throughout this process, lastly, additional amenities proposed to enhance the yacht club experience include additional boat docks and finger piers, which we have in the design, a ship store, snack bar, and ice cream shop, which is the ship store is in as part of the Harbor Master building. The ice cream shop may or may not be part of a phase 2 restaurant eatery. A splash pad, water slide, or other amenities that convert the pool into a small water park. Again, that was trying to get, people were looking for that resort-like atmosphere. And then lastly, new dock, master facility, and restrooms, which we're doing. So I just wanted to re-ground us in, at least for the yacht club, on what all the work that staff and the consultants did, what the community passed, what we worked on as far as the design and how we got to where we are today. It's important to not lose sight of all that work that we did collectively to get to where we're at. Okay, in regards to the GO bond, in the first part, these were projects that were completed by Parks and Rec. Horton Park got a couple of new pavilions. Giuffrida received a new playground shade structure. Northwest Softball received a new playground and a couple of new shade structures. Storm Football Field had new lighting installed. Pelican Soccer Complex, we put a perimeter fence. Pelican Baseball had converted all the little rock pebbles into asphalt so they don't kick up and wind up in the playing areas. Cosa Saldino also received a new playground with shade structures. Strausser BMX Park received a parking area, as well as converting all their bike staging from the little pea stone to concrete. This is a look at where we are financially. This is what we went to from the previously Public Works would put together a list of what the go-bond budget was, where we were allocated, and what, based on the engineer's estimates, we thought where we would be at as far as funding. We have since, because now 9 of the 13 are under construction, or I'm sorry, 7 of the 11 are under construction. We've moved to a more of a general ledger reporting that comes right out of our financial software. So this is the budget that was allocated, actual expenditures from each of those accounts, and then encumbrances that have monies appropriated and allocated for specific projects, and then if there's any balance left over in those individual accounts. So as we've transitioned to almost all of our parks being in construction, we've moved out of that, what we were presenting, which was our estimate of what the costs were, because we now have bids on 7 out of the 11, and we know what the costs were. So now we're going into reporting actual expenditures and encumbrances. Cultural parks under construction. This was $2.9 million awarded to Waypoint Contracting. Gator Circle Park, $2.1 million, also with Waypoint. Those two were bundled together. Sands Park, $3.1 to Wright Construction, as well as Coviello Park, almost $2 million. Those are both in construction. Del Prado Linear Park in construction, $1.3, awarded to EnviroStruct, as well as Giafrida Park, $650,000, EnviroStruct. Yellow Fever Creek, last month or so, you all awarded a contract to OAC Construction Corp for $5.5 million. We're looking at planning the groundbreaking ceremony for that sometime next month. So we'll be doing the groundbreaking ceremony there. Tropicana Park, we're awaiting Army Corps of Engineer and South Florida Water Management District permits. I know there has been continued comments about these parks are past due. There was a memo written by the previous city manager indicating that the parks would be complete in 3 years. Well, as you all know, what we've went through with the bubble curtains, there are some things that are outside of staff's control, outside of our consultants' control, and the timeline is completely on an external regulatory body. And in this case, we're in the same situation. If we didn't need these Army Corps permits and the Water Management District permits, I'm confident that I could stand before you and be presenting that all of our parks would have been in construction and would have been complete on time. Most of them, though, require regulatory permits that we have no way of controlling on this side of the dais. It's just like saying we would like to speed up State Road 78 construction, but it's not our roadway. We have to be reliant upon somebody else to be successful. And so to continue to say that, we're past 3 years, we're in year 4, it's just not, it's disingenuous to come here and say that if you're not writing letters to the Army Corps and you're not writing letters to the Water Management District saying, why can the city not get their permits? That's the help we need from the residents, is getting our voice out to those areas. We've submitted the projects, we've submitted the work, and we're waiting. There's just nothing else we can do. So Tropicana Park is awaiting Army Corps of Engineer permits in South Florida. Crystal Lake, same thing. Lake Mead, since our last quarterly report, we did receive our South Florida Water Management permit. We received that on 5/13. We're waiting on the DEP permit for that one. As soon as that's done, we'll be able to release those bids and bringing back an award. Lake Kennedy Racket Center, we're writing the bids with that along with Festival Park. As the Festival Park closes up, anything that we see from there, we'll make any tweaks to the bids on this one. At Festival Park, the city, since our last quarterly, issued the site plan for that park. So as far as the city is concerned, all the city code regulatory has been completed, and those bid specifications are being finalized to be released here in the next, I think the next couple of weeks. And then the Yacht Club, as you all know, we are awaiting Army Corps of Engineer and DEP permits. We are on hold submitting the city site plan because our coordination with the DEP is requiring some pretty extensive underwater flushing of the Marina Basin in this area here. So it will, depending on what the final design is, that will impact our city site plan. So that it's kind of a whole trigger. Finish up the DEP, then the Army Corps will complete theirs. The Army Corps will not start theirs until they know the DEP is completed, because they want to make sure there is no water quality issues. They get that, the DEP resolves that gets put aside, and then they can focus on the endangered species. We've moved forward with the beach pavilion, and we continue to work on other issues at the park, looking at ways to improve that resort-like amenity. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Councilmember Tate. I'm sorry, Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mike, for this detailed outline and report. I agree with you that it is disingenuous for individuals to come and give wrong information to the public. As you stated in the very beginning, I remember the numerous public meetings that I think many of us attended around the city after the GO bond passed, and the input that we received, especially for the yacht club. And I remember the tennis players coming here, and I remember many residents coming here and talking about the parking issues and what we were going to do to improve them, and talking about moving items around, even as recent as the boat dock. So I remember all of that, and I remember many residents who were very pleased after the plan was announced. I remember that too. So, you know, for individuals to say that people don't want that, it's just simply not true. We did what I guess I would call a day and time study, or a time study basically. At the time, we surveyed all of our residents. We asked them in particular about the parks, and in particular about the yacht club, and the feedback that we received is what we implemented in our plans. In terms of the cost increase that continually and exhaustingly gets brought up to us, I think it's important to remind everybody that, you know, we started planning these back in 2018 and 19 prior to a pandemic. And I think my fellow teammate up here who is in the construction industry can definitely vouch for the cost of materials increase and supply issues that we continue to see due to the pandemic, after the pandemic. And I think that that's important for the public to hear as well. Similar, I would equate this to the UEP when that was all planned during the recession, and then the work couldn't be done until 7 years later. So I think it's important that the public understands that and knows that, because, you know, it's exhausting to hear the same thing over and over again and have individuals who are uninformed. So I think it's important to note that. The permitting piece, I know you brought up, that is a challenge. I know that just from the other work that I do. My question is have we reached out, I'm sure we have, to our federal and state representatives to see if they can assist us in perhaps expediting the permit or figure out why? I'm sure there's just a backlog. As I said, I experienced that in my other job. So I'm just curious as to if we know why, or if you've reached out to any of our representatives to see if they can get an answer.
We've not escalated it to that level, not thus far.
Okay.
We continue to work with at the staff level.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Tate.
Mike, on the piece in section 3.0, can you send me that particular portion so I wasn't here when they did that
Yeah.
part. I was in the community meetings, and I remember all that being said, but if you could send me that and the 3.2 something.
Yeah, the whole,
Yeah, just that document for
Sure.
that. And can you go back to your slide that showed dates and chronological order, I believe, of the parks? I believe that was what that was.
dates?
It's pretty far back.
Was it,
That.
oh, this one?
Okay, so I just think that, again, it's all about communication. We hear from a couple of residents who don't have their facts, and we have the facts, and we need to keep putting them out there. So this program gets aired on TV, but I'm sure that people are not watching as much as we would hope they do. I don't know if at parks that haven't gotten started, we put up little placards that says, this is what you can expect, or we put more specific information on the website with, this is what we're waiting on. So facts and figures are out there being controlled by us and not by someone else's narrative, which is not true and has no facts. So it's just a suggestion on somehow getting out better, more accurate information.
Okay.
Okay?
We'll work with
Thank you.
communications.
Okay.
And Councilmember, if I may just add to that comment, I want you to know that all of the information that we share with you, we share with the public. All of these presentations that you have here at the COW are posted online, not only as part of the city clerk's agenda development process, but as part of our routine updates on our website, advising the public of our progress with the Parks GO bond. So this very presentation gets uploaded real time to the city's website.
But on the city's website, again, I don't know how many people are driving to the website. So social media is just so much quicker, just quick charts, quick graphs. Like we're doing the fertilizer thing, it's working. You know, people just see it. If all of us are sharing it on social media, you see it, it's quick, it's informational. And 90% of America trusts us, so if we post it, it's accurate information that we're putting on our site. So I know it's all on the website, but it's not as easy to find for the average person just going, oh, I wonder what's happening with Coviello Park. Bingo, you know what's happening with Coviello Park. So just a little quicker information is what I'm asking for. Thank you.
Councilmember Hayden.
We have to continue to use all our resources for communication. It's not just social media, it's our website, it's word of mouth, it's the meetings that we have with different organizational groups. They all come into play when we're doing this. Mike, I appreciate the updates. One thing you said, I don't know that we ever want to put the onus on residents to do our job. You mentioned that they should be writing and contacting their legislators. You know, we need to do that. We need to be as proactive as we can with our different state agencies and federal agencies on understanding why these permits are being delayed. If it's a shortage of people, if it's whatever the reasons are. It's a little disconcerting to hear that the Army Corps won't start their work on this yacht club permit until the DEP is done. I was under the understanding that they were working simultaneously on these permits together, but if they're waiting for the DEP to finish, then we know there's further delays on, correct?
Yeah, so what they do, they've issued the notice of intent to, publish start the permit review. One of the things they have to clear is the flushing study in the basin. They want to make sure that there's no water quality degradation from the project. Because if that happens, then there's no point in even going any further, right? So it's not that, and maybe I misspoke, it's not that they do nothing with it. They monitor that process and they prepare all the coordination that is going to happen should that come back as clean. And just to clarify, my comment was that, staff, people that are working on this are doing their best every day. We're on the regulatory agencies, we're with the consultants, we're speaking to sub-consultants, and, it's not just us that has the sole control over the timeline.
I just don't want people to think that we've exasperated all of our ways of getting things done, and now we're saying, okay, residents, now it's your turn.
that wasn't.
I know that wasn't your point, and I just wanted to make it clear You know, we haven't talked about the yacht club in a while, and I'm just going to weigh in and say, I am, and based on the comments that were made earlier, I am absolutely not for any sort of phased-in approach. I'm completely in favor of getting this work done in the 2-year timeline that was originally intended. And in 2006, there was a story, several media reports back then. They took a survey of residents. What the residents wanted back then for the yacht club was a new parking garage, an extended beach, and moving a boat ramp. Exactly the same things that we're working on now with the yacht club, they wanted back then. So yes, there's always going to be a certain number of residents that are upset about the closing of anything. It's our #1 destination place for people to go. We know there's going to be that kind of concern when we do a big project like this. Preserving the historical integrity of the yacht club building itself is important to me. It's important to a lot of people up here, but it needs work. It needs to be renovated. Structurally, it's getting to the point where it's not safe, and we need to do that, and that's going to factor into anything that we do now. We just can't continue to walk in there and think that it just is going to remain this way, because it's not. You know, these are all the things that are going to come forward and that we need to talk about, whether it's parking fees or whatever it might be. But the fact is, we have a shortage of parking there. We may still have a shortage of parking there even if we build the parking garage, but those 200 parking spaces will be important to continue to make that the destination place that it is. I hate when misinformation is shared, and I'm going to speak out again about it every single time. We know how hard staff is working on this. We know there are things that are out of our control, whether it's permits, whether it's COVID, whether it's supply chain, whatever it is, all factor into when we're going to get this work done. I am proud to see the progress that's being made on these parks right now. I love driving by Cultural Park almost every day and seeing the work that's being done there and seeing the work that we're doing at the other parks. We're providing fantastic amenities to people that they'll be able to use for years to come. Yes, there may be a bit of a delay in when they're done because of factors that you've talked about, but I know that once we get there, these jewels are going to be important for our people and for our families to go to every single time, and it's a benefit to our city. We've heard it from ULI. It's part of our strategic plan, and you know, communication. The best ways, strengthening communication is an asset for our city, and the best ways to do that, we will continue to discuss and work with our communications department, city manager, and staff. But I, for one, am happy to see the progress that's being made with these various projects. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Welsh.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to point out that one of the main bullet points on capecoral.gov is a Go Bond update and a whole page set aside for it. It details every park, it details the money that's being spent, it details quite a bit. So I do think that the information we're putting out is quite a bit, and I want to thank city staff for doing that, because a lot of times when people ask me, they'll call, hey, what's happening at Coviello Park? I go, well, did you go to the website and look it up? Oh, no, I didn't know about it, which is fine, because a lot of people don't know to go to capecoral.gov, but I use it pretty much on a daily basis, especially for agendas, meetings, and the most up-to-date information. So I wanted to say thank you for the staff that does put that information out there for everyone, and anyone that didn't know about it. There's news, there's questions, there's funding, there's projects, there's design layouts. Everything you need to know about the GO bond is there right on the website. So thank you for keeping that updated.
Thank you. Mike, the reference that you made earlier in your presentation about the Parks Master Plan, I'm assuming that's the 2016?
2016 Parks Master Plan, which was then turned into basically the referendum that went to the voters in 2018. So that's the basis of everything.
And how long did that organization, because I know there was a panel of stakeholders that were put together, how long was that process, if you can recall?
I don't recall off the top of my head right now, but we can get that.
Yeah, and the point I was trying to make, we had a lot of people from the community as a stakeholder that was involved. in that 2016 master plan. And like was mentioned before, I think that kind of laid the groundwork moving forward from there to get to 2018. And then we also gave the community another opportunity to weigh in exactly what we wanted and what we wanted for each neighborhood park, what we were looking for community parks. So I think there was a long history of community input before we even got to 2018. And I think that just like everything, you won't satisfy 100% of the people, but I think with the groundwork that was laid back with the 2016 Parks Master Plan, we took a look at that, we moved it forward to the next aspect, which was the 2018 referendum, to make some of the things a reality that was mentioned in 2016 master plan. So I think that's very important to mention. Also, like Councilmember Welsh said, you know, the information, the accurate information is here on our web page. You know, if there's something that's not there, you know, any resident can come or request any additional information so they have the factual information moving forward. You know, it's not hypothetically listed, it's factual information that we have at this time. You know, one thing I think it's important to mention, you know, and I think Councilmember Cosden, myself, and Nelson had the luxury to be here back in latter part of 2017, 2018, when we were talking about the Parks Go Bond moving forward. I can tell you one of the things that we never considered during those discussions was a pandemic. And of course, we all know how that has impacted society in general over the last 2 years. You look at some other projects, private projects throughout our city that are either delayed or not even occurring because of the additional cost where we find ourselves here today. If you look at the cost of housing, the cost of cars, the cost of goods in general, 2018 compared to today, whew, boy, that's a world of difference. And we're experiencing that as well with this Parks Go Bond plan. Like what was mentioned, some of the regulatory agencies, whether it's the FDEP, South Florida Water Management District, Army Corps of Engineers, we have no control of that. Nor do we know exactly what they say that we're going to have to do at any of these parks. We have an idea, and we've kind of budgeted for that idea, but we really do not know exactly what they are going to make us do. You take the yacht club, for instance, that was designed back in the, you know, in the 60s. A stormwater management plan, that was probably almost non-existent back then. So we know that as soon as we touch that particular facility, just like some of the other facilities, whether it's, you know, that we're waiting to get input from Army Corps or those other state regulatory bodies, you know, we have to base that development on today's standards and criteria. Once we have that information will be brought back to this council. Collectively, we will make a decision whether we're going to move forward with that particular project or not. And you know, it's kind of premature to sit here and say that we are going to do exactly what was on that plan. That's our desire, but you know, we'll have to see where those costs are. And we will have another discussion with the yacht club once we have all of the information, and we can make a good, informed decision from that point on moving forward. So I think that there will be plenty of opportunity for the community to weigh in once we have that additional information, because we don't have it at this point. So I look forward, I support the Parks Go Bond. I know it's taken, I remember sitting here and there was an aggressive plan of a 3 to 5 year to get it completed, but we surely didn't think of a 2-year pandemic. So that has pushed everything back, not to include the regulatory agencies that we're waiting for their input, and the cost of goods and what it's actually going to cost us to perform. Just like I've mentioned before, I have a commitment that we do exactly what we said we were going to do. When we asked those voters to go to the poll to either approve or disapprove, as we know that a majority approved that. So our obligation, at least my obligation, is to make sure that we fulfill what we said we were going to do as much as we can. We'll take a look at the cost, the actual cost, and if we have to later on take a second look at it, I'm sure we will. But we do have a obligation to the majority of the residents that came out and provided input, not only during the 2016 Parks Go bond, but when we were speaking about the referendum as well. I look forward to that additional information so this body, this council, can have a continued discussion with informed, factual, accurate information. So thanks to staff for the update up to this point. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I think we got to go back to item 2. Mr. City Manager, there were 2 other aspects of the presentation that we didn't look at. I think the one presentation was the capital improvement projects. The other 2 areas that were listed on here that we didn't discuss is public works and utilities. So I'll turn that back over to you for a continued discussion on that topic.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And since Mr. Ilchison is still standing at the podium, I'm going to have him upload his Public Works Department CIP presentation. And then once he has completed that, then we'll have Jeff Pearson come up to the podium and walk you through the utilities.
Very well. Public Works third quarter CIP update. We're going to go over the Sun Trail, where we are with road paving, the alley paving, median landscaping, sidewalks, our water quality projects, Bimini Basin, and Chiquita widening. So the Sun Trail up along Kismet and Van Buren is, and just real quick, anywhere you see an underline, that is the new information that we're presenting. Everything else is kind of the general information. So the Sun Trail, as we stand today, is at 65% complete, coming off of Burnt Store Road, heading over towards Del Prado. And then where we are with design of the Phase 3, we're 10% complete. In our road paving program, we're allocated $6.5 million a year. 4.3 million of that goes to local roads. Those local roads are about 80% complete. We have about 20% remaining. We put 1 million of that 6.5 for our major roads went into Nicholas Parkway construction. That is at 60% complete. And then we have a spot paving program where we take care of smaller areas that either had a utility line break or some type of damage from an accident or fire. That bid was closed, and we put together our recommendation memo to award that. That'll be coming forward, and then we'll take care of all those smaller spot paving areas. Our alley paving program, we had issued a bid on that. The bid closed. There was a procedural irregularity in the bids, so we had to put out a notice that we're not going to award on the bids that were received. We reissued it. We'll be opening the bid for that on June 1st. Median landscaping, we had the pre-construction meeting to begin Rose Garden on 5/17. We had a request for quotes came in on Chiquita. We reviewed those. We put a recommendation memo forward to procurement. They'll be putting the packet together to bring back to council probably after hiatus for award. On Embers Parkway, we have the design RFP for the actual design work in progress, as well as the same thing for Country Club. In our sidewalk projects, we've been getting a lot of media attention on this one lately. Media is excited to see that we're continuing moving forward with our sidewalks in and around 2 miles worth of schools. We have We submitted a design build project delivery method to procurement. There was some statutory things that we needed to complete before we could utilize that project method. So that it was kicked back to us. There's a little bit more front-end engineering work that needs to be complete, but the overall goal of the design build delivery method is basically to award a project to a contractor with a design firm, and they basically design it and build it while they're going based on design criteria that we supply to them. So if you think about this, where public works crews go out and install sidewalks, they know the design criteria. They know it's 5 feet off the edge of pavement. They know it's got to be 2 inches below the edge of pavement so that, you know, it can drain. They know how to handle the approaches to roads, how to slope the driveways. We have to build an engineering detail basically for the contractors, and then that will go out. And once we award that, then basically we can award a whole year's worth at one given time, as opposed to waiting for the design bid build project, which takes multiple years. So we're doing a little bit more front end work, but once this is complete, as we move forward in the next 5 to 10 years, this will really speed up the process getting those delivered. Cetus Parkway is under construction as well as El Dorado. Those are by Oasis North. On the water quality project, on the bubble curtains, you know, we received our Army Corps permit on 5/1. We're still waiting on the DEP. I will tell you that the dive team, Public Works dive team, has completed all of their physical tests and their training. They're ready to go, so we're going to send them in the water to the bubble curtain at the Mandolin Canal to do some maintenance cleaning, and then that will give them an idea of, you know, how they're deployed in the water, how they're connected. This way, when we get the permit from the DEP, they will have already seen one in the water and know what to replicate. So we'll probably get some media attention when they hit the water with that as well. Palmetto Pines course irrigation. So Palmetto Pines discharge from their stormwater system, as well as the pump that they use to bring in water from the canal, is basically right in the same location. So you have short circuiting of water, and so we're working on a project with them to move Palmetto Pines intake to the other side of the golf course, so that when they bring in water, it'll flow through the course and discharge in a different area. That will eliminate that short cycling and what we think might be contributing to excess nutrient loading in that specific area. We also did send them a letter. If you all may recall, last year was the second consecutive year in a row there was an outbreak in that area. We sent them a letter, as we discussed, indicating this year, if they have the presence of blue-green algae in their system, we're going to be viewing that as a system not functioning properly, and that would jeopardize their ability to receive credits on their stormwater utility fee next year. And we urge them to take precautionary measures this year in advance of the rainy season. We're moving forward with the dredging in the Southeast Cape. The work plan was sent in to us on the 12th of May, and they were issued a notice to proceed on the 16th. So dredging in the Southeast, if they're not already underway, is starting within the next week. Bimini Basin Mooring Field, we had pre-bid meetings with contractors and engineers looking to submit on that on 4/27 and 5/5. We have the RFPs are due to the city for evaluation on 5/25. And then Chiquita Boulevard at Kismet. This is kind of a little scope increase from the Sun Trail, where the Sun Trail met Chiquita. On Kismet, there was kind of that funny intersection where you had two of the approaches were divided highway, and the other two approaches were single lane, two-way traffic. So we worked with the school district. They own the property on the northwest corner. We worked with them to donate to the city of Cape Coral area to basically widen Chiquita Boulevard so that we can make a similar approach, geometric design from all areas. And the school board approved that on 5/10. We've internally completed the design, and the bid opening to construct the work will begin on 5/18. will happen on 5/18, and then once we evaluate the submittals, we'll send them forward to procurement for award. And so we'll be constructing the realignment of this intersection here sometime this summer. With that, I'll open it up to any questions.
Any questions for the update?
Thank you.
Seeing none, thank you, sir. Mr. Peterson, I believe you're going to be up next with the utilities updates.
All right, I'll get started here. Good morning, Mayor and Council. Jeff Pearson, Utilities Director. Beginning with the Fort Myers Reclaimed Water Transmission Main, that project is underway. The Overland route is under construction. They're starting in Horton Park and moving west along Everest Parkway. And the subaqueous section of the project, we hope to begin that next month in June and be at substantial completion for both projects phases by July of next year. Moving on to the Southwest Water Reclamation Operations and Maintenance Building Project. That project is moving very rapidly. I have a couple of pictures here for you. The top picture is the operations building. The bottom picture is the new maintenance building. That project is scheduled for completion on or before November of this year. Next, we have the reservoir pipeline and pump station. That project, the engineering is underway. We're at about 60% design, and that design and permitting should be complete by the end of summer in August. And we hope to bid that project sometime in this fall. And if we get a long-term agreement with the reservoir, potentially we could have that project complete by the end of next year. The next project is Southwest Reuse Tank Project. This project is nearing completion. We're at about 90 to 95% complete. We're just waiting on some electrical equipment to arrive and be installed. But pretty much the whole site, most of the site work is complete and the landscaping is completed. And we hope to complete that by the end of next month. The next project is the Nicholas Parkway West and East water main that Mr. Ilchizen briefly spoke about. We're at about 60 to 62%, depending on the east or the west sections of Nicholas Parkway. We anticipate completing construction on the west section, hopefully by August of '22, and the east section on or before January of next year. Next project is the Palm Tree Phase 1 and 2 water main. This project, we anticipate to begin construction by September. It's going out for procurement this month. And we hope to complete construction by June of next year. Also, related to that project, we have the CRA Sewer Master Pump Station 100 and new force main to serve the CRA area through build-out. The engineering is completed. We have 2 bid packages prepared, and we have submitted a budget request to begin putting those out for bids. Hopefully by next month. We hope to begin construction by October of this year and complete construction by June of next year. Next, we have the North RO plant supply wells. the engineering design and permitting services were just approved by City Council. And that's basically to design, permit, and bid and construct up to five new raw water wells for our RO plants. And we hope to complete design and bidding by spring of next year. Next, we have Weir 29. This project is going to allow us to store hundreds of millions of additional gallons of additional fresh water in our canals. That project is scheduled for completion in July of this year. That's going to move very quickly. It's pretty much a kind of a package type system that is just installed in the canal. And I'm available for any questions that you may have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Any questions for Mr. Pearson? Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate the update. I think before we move on to item 4, we'll take a 10-minute break. We'll come back at 11:15. developments, PUDs and PDPs. And I'll turn it over to, I guess, you will be giving the presentation, or I'll turn it over to the city manager.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to have Mike Struve come up to the podium to lead you in a conversation that started about a month and a half ago. And as you recall, we had an item come forward to, for the city council's action related to an amendment to a PDP that existed in the Judd Creek area. And then at that time, members of council asked questions about the process and the procedure that used to be in place back when we had land development regulations that didn't transition over when we adopted the land development code. And I think staff mentioned to you at the time that we were still following the process and the procedure that was established by the land development regulations. So anyway, staff, as a result of that conversation, staff worked with the city attorney's office to put together a proposed ordinance to amend the land development code to address how PDPs and PUDs are amended going forward. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Struve.
Well, thank you. Good morning, Mayor, City Council members. For the record, Mike Struve, Planning Team Coordinator with the City Planning Division. And as the City Manager mentioned, we had discussed with you briefly, I think at a Committee of the Whole meeting back in March, that we would be bringing forward some changes that would be amending our section that deals with PUDs, as well as reestablishing, if you will, some regulations that would allow existing PDPs to be amended, abandoned, and so forth. And we'll get into those changes in a little greater detail later. As part of your backup, you have a copy of Ordinance 4822. This ordinance makes some refinements or changes to our existing PUD regulations. We've had PUDs on our books now for a couple of years. We've had some experience in reviewing those types of projects, and we felt this was a good time to do some tweaking in some areas that required to be amended in those regulations. And then secondly, and more importantly, I think, we have reintroduced or re-added new language back now into the Land Development Code that allows for PDPs to be amended and abandoned, which will give developers or owners of those PDP projects greater flexibility moving forward to make changes to their projects. Just by way of background, to give you an idea of the magnitude of the number of PDPs that have been approved, the actual number is a little uncertain, but since 1991, the city has approved over 300 PDP and PDP amendments, and we think that that number is actually probably closer to 400 than it is 300. Our current land development code does not allow for new PDPs, and the code also currently does not allow for existing PDPs to be amended. So that's one of the main reasons why we're bringing these changes forward to you. This slide is a little busy. I just want to concentrate on a couple of key points here so we have a clear understanding of the main differences between planned development projects, PDPs, and PUDs, or planned unit developments. PDPs, which we had in our books prior to the adoption of the Land Development Code, was really a bundling mechanism. It was an entitlement process that allowed applicants to bundle multiple requests. And I always used to think of it as a shopping cart where you could bundle requests that might deal with a rezoning, a special exception, a vacation, deviations. Bring those forward at the same time. Staff would review those holistically, and instead of having separate public hearings for each separate request, you would have one series of public hearings, and the developer could have his project approved just going to hearing once. PUDs, on the other hand, are an entitlement process that always involves a rezoning. You're always rezoning from, for example, the commercial zoning district perhaps to the commercial PUD zoning district, or from RML to a residential PUD process. It is not a bundling mechanism per se. The other item I would mention about PUDs is that for most PUDs, and in particular for those PUDs that are under 10 acres, not only do those PUDs require a rezone, but they also require approval of a master concept plan. So you get a preview of actually what the project is going to look like. The other item I want to mention here in regards to PDPs versus PUDs is that PDPs could be initiated voluntarily by a developer, but in many cases they were mandatory in the city. And I think increasingly over years, they became mandatory in a greater number of situations. PDPs were mandatory in certain situations depending on where the project was located. If you didn't have utilities, it was mandatory for certain types of zoning districts, and it was mandatory for certain types of uses. PUDs, on the other hand, are voluntary. It's never mandatory. This is an entitlement process that is totally selected at the will of the developer and brought forward to the city for review. I want to just briefly hit on some of the changes that are being made to some of the regulations that we currently have in place under our transitional rules, and this is in section 1.13. We've done quite a bit of reorganizing and reformatting if you're looking at the strike-through language. Some of these changes have been amended for clarification because some of our provisions weren't as clear as we would like them to be. Looking backward now with experience with these types of processes for a couple of years. We have also expanded section 1.13F to allow for PDP abandonments and amendments, which are two new sections of our code that I'll discuss near the end of my presentation. And in addition to reorganizing and reformatting, we've done also a lot of cross-referencing between Section 1 and Article 3 of the Land Development Code, which we think will help provide more clarity and make these regulations a little less confusing, perhaps. Looking at Section 3.4.7, which deals specifically with planned unit developments. Again, this is existing language that we're proposing to amend. Again, we've done a lot of reorganization and reformatting here. We have added some new language, not necessarily adding a number of new provisions, but in some cases to provide more clarity for certain types of requirements that already exist in this section. For example, we're requiring utility plans, but only for situations where a PUD area may be without centralized utilities. So we want to see what the developer has in mind in terms of providing utilities to those sites where the city might not have any intention of providing centralized utilities to those areas for 10 years or more. We are specifying that areas of individual lots cannot be used for open space. We have an open space requirement of 25% for PUDs. That is not changing. That's in our code now, but we're just clarifying that individual lots cannot be used collectively to meet that open space requirement. Another clarification is that administrative deviations that are currently allowed in the code that allow for minor changes in setbacks by no more than 10% would extend over the life of the project. And then lastly, we also define in this case what constitutes construction in the context of an approved PUD. We don't want people to receive a permit for clearing and grading only and then have some type of claim that that type of activity constitutes actual construction towards initiating their master concept plan. Section 3.4 3.4.8 is new language that was largely brought over from the land use and development regulations, and this covers PDP amendments. And you'll see there are a number of different subtypes of PDP amendments. PDP amendments can include modifying or eliminating one or more conditions of approval in a PDP development order, for example, like a buffer requirement. An amendment could also include rezoning all or a portion of a PDP, either to a conventional zoning district or to a PUD zoning district, extending the date of substantial construction, adding new land to a previously approved PDP, or eliminating land from a previously approved PDP, as was the case with the Judd Creek abandonment that you had reviewed and approved back in March. There are two different types of abandonments, and those are covered in section 3.4.9. Again, this is a new section we're proposing to add to our code. And those abandonments are predicated on whether all of the property is being abandoned or contracted from a PDP, from a PDP, or if the application involves less than all of the land or less than 100% of the property owners that are seeking to abandon a portion of a PDP. We are proposing that in situations where we have an application represented by owners of 100% of the property, that those types of requests could be approved by the director. So that would be an administrative type of approval. In the second situation, applications that do not include 100% of the property owners, again, Judd Creek was an example of that, where about 80% of the land area was being proposed to be abandoned, but not 100%. Those would come to you for final approval. They would first go to the hearing examiner for a recommendation. They would go to the city council for your final disposition. I should also mention that this particular section also identifies standards that staff would use for evaluating these requests and that you would use, presumably, in forming the basis of your decision. Next steps, unless we hear differently from you in terms of getting guidance from you, we plan to schedule these proposed regulations before the Planning and Zoning Commission at their July 6th date, and then we would be on a tentative track to bring these changes before you at potentially an August hearing date, and I'll stand by in case you have any questions.
Thank you. I got a couple questions. I'll start, I guess. If you could go back to the slide where it said PDP versus PUDs. And maybe if you could explain this slide a little more clearly for me anyway. How I see this is the PDPs basically, can you explain exactly what you mean by approved by HEX or City Council as far as on the left side?
Sure.
To me, and the question that I have is, if there's going to be a change in the PDP, is it going to go through a HEX hearing? Is it going to come to City Council, or is it, it could go through either?
Good questions, Mayor. So let me take your second question first. For PUDs, PUDs will always be approved by the City Council because they involve a rezoning request. So the governing body has to approve those. In terms of past PDPs, PDPs that previously involved a rezoning request or a vacation request or a subdivision request always required approval by the City Council. There are a whole nother subset of PDPs that sometimes didn't include any of those requests, and those types of projects could and were either approved by our Planning and Zoning Commission or more recently by the hearing examiner.
So would it be fair to say that I thought all PDPs basically at some point come before council previously, before we had PUDs. Is that an accurate statement that all PDPs were approved by city council?
No, that would be inaccurate because not all PDPs previously were approved by the city council.
Okay, and my next question would be, if we have a PDP, one of those 300 that you may have mentioned, that was approved by council, one of the things that I want to ensure is if council made a decision by a collective body on a PDP, no matter what the scenario or the case is, will all of those PDPs that was voted on by city council, if there needs to be a change in that PDP, will that come back before city council with this new?
Regardless of whether those projects were approved either by the hearing examiner or the city council previously, the vast majority of those would come before the city council. I think there is one subset that involves projects where an applicant or a developer is seeking an extension of a project. And if it's their first extension, under our current, or under our proposed regulations, I should say, the director could approve that. That would just either extend the build-out date or the time in which they could commence substantial construction. Any second similar request, or even third request for that matter, would go to city council for approval. So first extension could be approved administratively, subsequent request by the city council. To my knowledge, that's the only PUD amendment that you would not see. Anything involving a change of a condition, that would require city council approval. And I do want you to recognize that PDP abandonments, we're not treating those as PUD amendments per se. So again, in making that distinction, if someone wants to abandon a previously approved PDP and you've got 100% of the property owners involved, under our current proposal, that could be approved by our director. In situations where you don't have 100% of the property owners involved, those requests would always go to council for approval.
So if a developer that has a existing PDP wants to make a change other than an abandonment, then that change, no matter if it has to do with the project, the density, or whatever the change is, that would come back before city council for approval?
Yes, if they're looking to rezone the property, if they're looking to change a previously approved condition, those would come before the city council. They'd previously, prior to that, they would go to the hearing examiner review, make a recommendation, you'd have that recommendation order, but final approval would rest with the city council.
Because the reason I asked that question, I just want to make sure that there's still a due process. If there's going to be a change in any existing PDP, I want to make sure that we give the community the opportunity to weigh in on whatever that change is. And I know there's some parameters as far as mailing out notices within 500 feet, I believe, and there's some other parameters. I just want to make sure that the community has an opportunity to weigh in during a public hearing for any of those changes that may be taking place. And that's why I just want to make sure I was crystal clear, make sure that is going to be the case. The other question, could you go to the PDP abandonment slide that, and I think you pretty much clarified that. As long as 100% of the property owners involved in the PDP wants to abandon that particular project altogether, then the director can approve it. But if it's less than that, it comes before city council.
That is correct.
So I think that's important as well, because there could be a vested stake owner in that particular project that we want to give them the opportunity to have a voice.
That's the reason for that. And if I may, I would be glad to sort of summarize our noticing requirements. For any request that requires your approval, our noticing would be ad in the newspaper 10 days in advance of the hearing date, a minimum of 1 sign on the site, and then we would be mailing to all property owners within the PDP project area itself, as well as to all property owners within 500 feet of the project area. That noticing would go not only before the hearing examiner hearing, but before the city council hearing as well, too.
Okay. And lastly, to summarize the changes, and I've read through the presentation in the ordinance, is there anything in there where city council had the opportunity or the authority to hear a particular change versus the new proposed ordinance where that particular, or there's a particular circumstance where that decision could be made by staff or the director other than the abandonment section that you've already mentioned?
Well, the only other administrative approvals that we have, other than the abandonment, where you've got 100% of the owners, would be a request for the first time to extend a project. And that would be at the sole discretion of the director.
Mm-hmm.
Second request and subsequent become before you. The only other request that I have discussed that the director has the authority to approve, which he does now, are those minor PUD amendments, which normally involve relief from the dimensional standards of 10% or less. So if you have if your setback is 25% to use, 25 feet to use that as an example, an applicant for whatever reason could request relief from that setback of a maximum of 2.5 feet, and they would need to provide some justification. Those types of requests, just to use that as an illustration, could be approved by the director without your review.
And we do that now.
We do that now. Yep. That is correct. That is not a proposed change.
Okay, you've satisfied the questions that I had. Thank you. Any other council members have any questions or input? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is B5. It says amend code related to sidewalks and right-of-way improvements. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mike Ilchison from the Public Works Department will come up to the podium to talk to you about some proposed changes to our development standards as they pertain to sidewalks and right-of-way improvements. Mr. Ilchison.
Good morning again. Mike Ilchison, Public Works Director. There's no formal presentation for this. It's really just a one-page code or one-section code amendment along with the engineering design standard. This item stemmed from a meeting that the city manager, myself, and our transportation director, our transportation manager, Persides, had with the state of Florida regarding expediting State Road 78 widening and visioning. And as a tangent to that meeting on how we could get State Road 78 6-lane sooner rather than later, we had been noticing in transportation many of the commercial developments on Pine Island Road were being developed without the requirement of putting in sidewalks, curbs, gutters, streetlights. And so when we concluded the 6-laning aspect of it, how we would widen it, we asked the state, hey, why is it that some developments like Sam's had to put in a sidewalk and streetlights, and other developments like Farmer Joe's did not? And so the state kindly let us know that their policy is if there is no access directly from the state road to the private development, then those type of right-of-way improvements are not required. And that kind of led back to a discussion of all the way back to our corridor access management plan The Corridor Access Management Plan limits the amount of curb cuts on Pine Island Road to very large distances, and actually requires the use of parallel access roads and utilizing City of Cape Coral local roads for access, such as how that happens on Farmer Joe's. You go in on a local road. And so what ended up happening was, because of the Corridor Access Management Plan and the state's policy of not requiring right-of-way improvements if there's no direct access, we are winding up with a lot of development on Pine Island Road, and conversely, the same situation on county roads, where we're not getting the intent of our code, which is to require those type of right-of-way improvements at the time of development. So then what happens is, those businesses open, there's no way for pedestrians, bicyclists, or to traverse the property. They're in the right-of-way, they're in the swale, and so then it's upon us or the state at a later date to come forward and fund those improvements. And so what happens is, we have growth not paying for growth. So we spoke with the state and said, how can we close this up? How can we stitch this up? And they said, well, if you require it in your local code that even though they're not getting direct access, that they will have to provide these right-of-way improvements at the time of development, then we'll work with your design staff and your review staff to enforce that policy. So that's was an easy fix for us. We got with the attorney's office, we got with the Vince's staff and development services, and we came up with language that basically will require the same thing on state roads as we have for local roads. The full build out of the curbs, gutters, street lighting, lane widening, sidewalks for any property adjacent to a county or state property, so long as it's designed along to state and county design requirements. So that's the intent of the code. The language is here. And then for the street lights, we put together an engineering design standard . The streetlight section was, when we were looking at the right-of-way improvements, it turned out that the streetlights at the commercial developments were also omitted. And we confirmed with Vince's staff that streetlights were not being installed at commercial developments on the roadways that they're being built at. So we came up with the engineering design standards that has our typical spacing and typical wattage based on the type of road. So if you're building a gas station at Diplomat and Chiquita, and you're on a divided arterial roadway, you would use a 250 watt bulb. If you're doing it on a principal arterial, you would use a 400 watt bulb. And if you're doing something that is kind of a divided highway to a local, on the local side, you'd use the residential 150 watt, and on the major road, you'd use the 250. So we came up with the engineering design standard. The idea and the intent here is the developer will design with LCEC. All of our streetlights, as you may or may not know, are leased through LCEC. So there's still going to have to be LCEC fixtures, LCEC maintenance. But what will happen is the SEAC fee, basically the upfront to get the lights installed and put in place, will be on the developer. And then the long-term maintenance and paying for that fixture will be on the city, just like we do anywhere else where we put up streetlights. So with that, I'll open up to any questions, comments.
Thank you. I guess I'll start. I had a few comments regarding this. I know we've made reference of Pine Island Road is kind of what precipitated this discussion. And, when you look at some of the development on Pine Island Road, I agree that, some projects were putting in some of those, road or curb gutter, sidewalks, and even street lighting, and some projects were not. And I agree, during the projects along the Pine Island corridor, something else that I think we need to look at as well is any of the other county roadways. You got Del Prado, you have Veterans, and also I think we need to look at future commercial development on Burnt Store Road corridor. Okay. And I know that we're still in discussions exactly, coming up with a a development plan on on Burnt Store Road. One of the things that I see here in this particular ordinance is if you read it, it's pretty much for all non-residential zoning districts. So it's just not only on the Pine Island Road that we're trying to take care of a issue. It will be a blanket approach across the city. One of my concerns is you take an individual that, say, wants to do a development on Chiquita Boulevard somewhere, and he's mandated to put in some of this infrastructure, which may be a good thing. But the other problem that the ripple effect of this, in my opinion, is you're going to have missing segments along the way. So here you're going to have a developer. You tell them, hey, look, you got to put curb, gutter, and sidewalks in and street lighting. Well, that's great for that couple 100 feet of segment of the roadway. But what about all the other thousands of feet that has already been developed up and down? I know one of the things that's mentioned in here is special assessments. And I think when you read this ordinance, that's another area of concern that I have when it talks about special assessments. It says at the direction of the city. And I think that should clearly say at the discretion of city council. Any type of an assessments, I would assume, would have to come before council for approval, but I think that just needs to be clarified in there. If this particular ordinance was a little more restrictive on the exact locations, whether it's Pine Island Road, Veterans, Burnt Store Corridor, or whatever type of commercial development that we know is going to be coming for the future, I would probably be able to support it. But you could have a commercial lot on a back street somewhere that there's no sidewalks, curbs, gutters, anywhere around in that particular area. And please correct me if I'm wrong.
They're required to do it now. So so the language that you see there now, any non-residential development in the city now, whether it's on a single lot, on a back road, all of those developers are required, and they are putting in, you'll see they're adding the lane widening, they're putting the curb gutter in, they're putting in the sidewalk. So for example, if you go to areas behind Carrabba's, south of Pine Island Road, or you go north of BJ's, north of Lowe's, all kind of in that Pine Island corridor area, or if you go to areas in the CRA, any non-residential commercial project, even restaurants off of Chiquita, the ones that face kind of like behind Lobster Lady, they're on local roads. They may be a single development for an accounting firm or a restaurant. They're required now, and they do at the time of development. They put in the curb gutter, sidewalk, full lane widening for the deceleration and the acceleration lane. And so yes, that what you described, kind of that piecemeal approach is happening, but once they build those are then given to the city as contributory assets. So that reduces the amount of funding and reduces the amount of transportation dollars needed to put those in to complete them, and basically it's growth paying for growth. So what we're trying to do here is just close the gap in that throughout the entire city, commercial development is required to do that, but somehow our language left out the state and county roads. And so developers who were developing on there were not having to put in those amenities for the residents unless they needed access. So now, kind of that piecemeal approach that you were talking about on Pine Island Road, you see some of them have the sidewalks and the curb, and then others don't. And so if we had this language to close it up, then we would have a more contiguous system.
So you're basically looking for more uniformity across the city.
We're looking
no matter
for
if it's on a local, state, or county road.
Exactly. So the idea is to take the development requirements in the city and apply those same development requirements to state and county roads, so that developers know whether, no matter what road you're building on within the geographic limits of the city, you're going to be required to put these in there. When you're working with the city, you work through our site development staff to design those. If you're working on a state or county road, this says you work with the state engineer or the county engineer.
Okay. All right, that clarifies it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry that wasn't clear.
Okay, Councilmember Hayden.
Mike, how will it work as we continue to have discussions with the state about moving up Pine Island Road widening from where it is now to hopefully a lot sooner? And we put something like this in place where Pine Island Road widening will probably include the addition of sidewalks as part of that plan. If they're going to put that in place anyway and a business owner is aware of that and it's in that time frame where Pine Island Road's being widening and a property's being developed, what supersedes what in that case? And said, look, you know, it's part of the state plan to put in sidewalks anyway as part of the widening of the road. Why should I pay for sidewalks to go in? So when we get to that particular time and the widening of the road, how will this ordinance apply to businesses or developers moving forward?
Right, so this ordinance, when it, you know, if it passes P&Z and then eventually comes back before the council and passes P&Z, will become effective at the date when we say it'll be effective.
I get all that,
So
but
between that time and the time the corridor visioning, you know, takes place, then the revision of the access management plan, and then the ultimate design of the widening, all of the developments that will continue to build out on Pine Island Road will be required to put this stuff in. We're working with the state staff right now on where to locate those. So that's why this says, please work, don't ask us where to put the sidewalk in that state right away. Go to the state, ask them where to put it, where to design it. This way, when the ultimate project comes to fruition, those things are placed in the appropriate location horizontally and also vertically, like along the swale. So this is why we reference in an agreement or as approved by Florida Department of Transportation. So the idea is to make sure that the design firm who's working on the site for the development works with the state, and all of those forward-thinking processes take place at the time they're designing it.
if the scenario exists that the widening of Pine Island Road is possibly moved up from 20 years to 10 years, and the development isn't planned until within that window, we can tell the property owner, well, sidewalks are coming in here anyway, so, you know, I'm just trying to understand, because at some point, it's going to impact that developer, knowing that this road's going to be widening, it's going to include sidewalks, whereas a previous developer that put in a project before the widening of the road may have paid for it, but this developer said, look, you know, I'm 5 years out, you're widening Pine Island Road now with sidewalks, you know, am I still paying for this?
At some point, we may get to that, right? And so this is a classic example of what we just went through with the alleys on Del Prado. There were some developers who built out the alleys and put them in, and then now here we are some 30, 40 years later, the city is going in and actually saying, okay, we want to fast track the completion of this alley, and we're funding it. So yeah, there are going to be developments on either side of that 6-laning in this policy change. The goal at this point is to get as many of these pedestrians off of that right away. Walking next to cars doing 60 miles an hour is just not a safe thing.
And in the paragraph that's marked with the letter C, you say curb, sidewalks, gutter, street lighting, and lane widening. Now, is that entrance into, because I don't want there to be confusion that they're widening Pine Island Road at that point. Is this just an entrance into?
Yeah, so the lane widening is specifically what it takes to put in a turn lane in front of their property.
Okay.
It's not a 6-laning or adding additional capacity. It's just whatever the design criteria is for the amount of traffic coming in and out of that property. If it's a 200-foot turn lane, if it's a 400-foot, it depends. That will all come out of the review from the traffic engineering.
So can we put turn lane in there instead of just lane widening to avoid any?
Well, lane widening covers more than turn lane. There's ingress, there's egress. So lane widening covers just from a general transportation nomenclature that covers everything.
Okay.
But it's not, to your point, we're not going to be having people build out an additional lane for travel and have piecemeals along the right of way. That's not the intent.
All right. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Law?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify on the street lighting portion. I know that we discussed this at CTAC, and it was identified, I believe, by Commissioner as a potentially significant financial impact to the developers. But it seems like the way it's presented here, it's just purely like wattage and design based rather than, for example, requiring the erection of additional lighting outside of what's currently required. Is that a correct assessment?
So what's going to be required here is the installation of the arm that holds the light and the light itself. The developer will pay for that, and then as soon as that's installed and turned on, then the city takes over the lease payment of that in perpetuity.
So I guess
So
my
the
question-
poles are already in there for their development. It's just having the requirement to provide the street lighting so that it doesn't fall on the $100,000 that the city, you know, we don't have a lot of money when we're trying to focus on bus stops for children. So in this case where we're having commercial developments, this will help us in accomplishing our street lighting goals by lighting up, you know, these type of developments are going at the major intersections. They're going at, you know, where there's volume. So the idea is for them to fund basically the SEAC fee, the cost of the arm, the cost of the head, and then it falls on us for the payment.
So in the context then, since we're talking about Pine Island Road, if we talk about Farmer Joe's, for example, how would that differ from what they did originally with what would be proposed here, if at all?
How would that differ? Oh, so Farmer Joe's would have been, I think in front of Farmer Joe's, they already have street lights. I think it goes all the way to Chiquita, so they wouldn't have needed to put in any street lights. But if there would have been a design for the circuitry to illuminate the poles. And then they would have been putting in a sidewalk basically from one end of their property line all the way to the other end. And that would allow people to be able to walk, you know, from there. We're working right now with the development on the other side, you know, at the Aldi's, and there's a Goodwill going. We're working with them to design the sidewalk. We're at this point, if you know from the growth model, where we're growing still at an increasing rate, and if we can capture as many of these sidewalks as we can now, there's less money that we're going to have to come up with from other funds at a later date.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Would this, I'm trying to describe this scenario. Farmer Joe's, there was a public street already. Yep. Where their customers can just turn on the street, so they didn't need to create access on Pine Island Road. Right. But we know there's some properties on Pine Island Road that don't have a lot of frontage. Will they be forced to build a access road for future neighbors?
No, there's no force to build an access road. What we do with the corridor access management plan is it limits the amount of driveways that can be put in and out of Pine Island Road. What that requires is cross-access agreements and joint-use driveways. So that's where you'll see where you enter into one development, like Sam's. You enter in a joint-use driveway then that will service all of the businesses along the front of that, all those out parcels. But it won't require anybody to build out roads, but it will require commitments and use between developments to have joint use driveways and cross-access agreements.
Okay. Thank you.
And I think where he was maybe going with that, say a developer has to put that access point in for his particular parcel, but say there's 4 more parcels that will have access to that entrance. Can that particular property owner, do they enter into an agreement with those other parcels to help pay for that? So that one particular developer that just happens to be the first guy developing, he doesn't bear 100% of that burden.
So what we cannot do is we cannot force that to be free, right? I mean, otherwise we're in a condemning situation. If we wanted to build the parallel access road, then we would be condemning property and building that out as a public roadway. We can require developers to allow cross-access agreements and joint-use driveways, but there's nothing on us that will require that to be for free. So in some instances where you have 2 developments working together. It may be for free, and they may come to some agreement to get access. In other areas, they may say, hey, this is an easement. It's going to be dedicated for your use. It has monetary value. Those are private market conditions that we cannot drive. All we can do is ensure that the requirements of the camp are met and that all developments have access.
Okay. Councilmember Long, do you have anything?
No, it was answered. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, sir, for the presentation. Okay, the next item on the agenda is Intergov update. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Granbaugh, who will give you this week's update.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, City Council members. Matt Grambo, Special Projects Coordinator in the City Manager's Office, here to give you a update on staff's progress on addressing identified issues with the current Intergov enterprise permitting and licensing system. In today's update, I'm going to cover 4 topics, starting with an update on the permit workflow reconfiguration that staff has been working through. Following that, I'll be providing an update on the new ITS Intergov Application Administrator position. Then we'll be discussing the third-party integration consulting agreement that the city is entering into. And I'll conclude today's update with an overview of a 60-day action plan. For the permit workflow reconfiguration, the reconfiguration and streamlining of the first type of permit, which again is the residential and commercial roofing permit workflow, is complete. It went live this week on Monday, and it's been very well received. Community members and contractors are letting us know that there's been a savings of about 2/3 of the amount of time in terms of preparing a roofing permit application. And on the staff side of things, we're estimating that this reconfiguration for both the residential and commercial roofing permits will save about 38 hours of staff time per week. We've calculated this based on the average number of roofing permits received per week, which is about 650, and based on delays on each step of the workflow process of between 15 and 45 seconds due to ongoing system slowness, and 7 steps removed during the reconfiguration. That equals a total of about 38 hours of staff time. So that staff time can be reallocated towards processing other types of permits and more rapidly addressing some of the permits that are waiting for approvals and reviews. During the initial reconfiguration process, staff were able to develop some of the experience and knowledge that we'll be able to utilize with tackling more complicated permit reconfigurations, including the residential construction permits and other types of priority permits. Along with this process, the Development Services Department has also appointed 10 staff members as subject matter experts, so that will also increase the city staff's capacity to do reconfigurations in a more timely manner over a shorter period of time. Also, during the reconfiguration process, staff members from DSD and ITS formed a configuration sprint testing team. And so what this team is able to do is to go in and do a series of rapid tests on the new configuration. And by doing it through a sprint testing team rather than through a drawn out testing process, they're able to get back to processing permits and work on other things. So it's the impact on staff in terms of testing the reconfigurations is less than it may have been using other strategies to do testing. As I had mentioned, the residential permit reconfiguration is the real priority reconfiguration for us. And we started that process this week with outlining what the new residential construction permit configuration will look like. Currently, residential construction permits were configured with Tyler Technologies. And when they had done the initial configuration, they combined all types of residential construction permits into one permit type within the Intergov system. So single family, 2-family, 3+ family, renovations, additions, all combined into one permit type in the Intergov system. And this has created a large number of problems, particularly with the inspections that are required for the review of each permit. So by breaking those down, there's going to be a couple benefits when it comes to residential construction permit processing. One, there'll be fewer steps, so less staff time with addressing each type of residential permit. And also, it's going to enable the city to have better and more comprehensive reporting data on those residential construction permits, so that we're going to be able to provide better data on our process, on our progress with going through the residential permit backlog, and allow us to use that information to continuously improve our residential permit processing. One more thing to add with the reconfigurations, along with the residential construction permit reconfiguration, staff are also working on at least one additional reconfiguration currently. That will be the HVAC permits, and we're also looking into doing the irrigation permits at the same time. So there should be 3 to 4 completely reconfigured permit types within the next 60 days, which will really help us to process permits more efficiently. As for the update for the EnerGov application administrator position, this new position was posted this week. The position will be responsible, will be in the ITS department and will be responsible for a lot of the technical side of things, including EnerGov speed and performance improvements, assisting subject matter expert staff in reconfiguring the workflows and processes, troubleshooting issues experienced by the DSD customer service representatives and permit coordinators, as well as helping with the training and preparation for upcoming software platforms, including the Tyler HR solution. As I had mentioned, the position is currently posted. It will be open for 30 days, but we have the flexibility to begin interviews prior to the end of that 30-day window so that we can expedite the hiring process and have the new staff member on board as soon as possible. Thirdly, as an update for our pursuit of a third-party integration consultant, the city has entered into an agreement as of this week with Plant Moran PLLC for assessment and optimization services related to the city's EnerGov platform. This consulting organization is the same organization that did work at the city of Doral. So during the committee of the whole meeting 2 weeks ago, we played a presentation from the city of Doral. This was the same consultant that was responsible for that project. This will be phase 1 of the overall consulting involvement at the city and will involve the full assessment of the current EnerGov situation, as well as the development of an optimization plan. Both of these deliverables will be delivered to the city within 45 business days, which is an expedited time period for them. Typically, they do this over a 60-day period, but because of the urgency of the current situation with the EnerGov system, we requested and were granted a 45 business day expedited process for the assessment and the development of the optimization plan. As a part of the assessment, Plant Moran is going to assess 29 different business, technical, and reporting function areas, including areas in permitting, code, planning, and licensing. And even though this initial involvement of Plant Moran is an information gathering process where they'll be doing a full assessment and creating an optimization plan, that does not mean that staff are going to stop working on improvements. We're going to continue to work on reconfiguring troublesome and priority permit types, work on our improvements to training and education, and building organizational capacity during this 45-day process. And to reflect staff's continuing work on addressing the issues with EnerGov, we have created a 60-day action plan that includes 3 primary goals, each with 3 primary objectives. And I'd like to go through each goal and each objective at this time. The first goal of our 60-day action plan is to increase permit processing speed for 3 or more high-priority permit types. And we believe that all 3 of these reconfigurations will be completed by July 18th of 2022. And to reach that goal, we're going to complete 3 objectives. Objective 1A, complete reconfiguration and monitoring of the streamlined residential and commercial roofing permit workflow. So the new configuration for roofing permits went live this week, and staff will continue to monitor it to make sure that there's no issues with the new configuration. Early feedback that we've received from the community has been extremely positive on this, on both the staff side of things and the applicant side of things. And we're going to continue to monitor the new configuration throughout this week and into next week. We also will complete Objective 1B, which will be the complete reconfiguration and monitoring of the residential HVAC workflow. That should be completed in June, sometime around June 27th, 2022, and that includes the creation of the reconfiguration, the testing process, the go live, and the post go live monitoring. Finally, Objective 1C, we're going to complete the segmentation, reconfiguration, and monitoring of the residential construction permit workflows. So this is the highest priority reconfiguration that staff is working on right now. It's a little bit more complicated because of segmenting residential construction into multiple permit types. And we believe that this entire process, including the outlining, testing, go live, and monitoring, will be complete by the week of July 18th, 2022. And after that go live, there'll be significant improvements in the processing of the residential construction permits. The responsibility for Goal 1 will be on the Development Services Department, ITS, and the City Manager's Office. The second goal of our 60-day action plan is to develop Energov optimization plan based on technology and staff process best practices within 45 business days. So this goal is the goal that surrounds the involvement of the consultant, Plan Moran, over a 45 business day period. It involves the completion of 3 objectives, starting with contracting with the third-party Energov integration consultant. That has been completed. Objective 2B, completing the third-party assessment of the City of Cape Coral's Energov implementation and current status, and the completion of the comprehensive Energov optimization plan, are both the deliverables that Plant Moran will be providing to the city within 45 business days. So the completion of this goal is the responsibility of Plant Moran as the city's consultant during this process, the Department of Development Services, ITS, and the City Manager's Office. Finally, the third goal of our 60-day action plan is to improve the city's capacity to manage and improve Energov system performance, and we believe that we will be complete with this the week of July 18th, 2022. This also involves the completion of 3 objectives to reach that goal. Objective 3A is to complete the Development Services Department staffing capacity analysis, which is currently underway. Vince Guatera, the Development Services Director, along with the Development Services staff, are looking at capacity needs for staffing and other factors currently, and are developing a plan for increasing staff capacity to continuously manage and improve the Energov system's performance. Objective 3B, hiring the Energov application administrator position in ITS. We believe that'll be complete by July 4th, the week of July 4th, based on a 30-day application period, the expedited interviewing of applicants, and all of the efforts that the HR department is putting forth to being able to get this type of position on board as quickly as possible. And the completion of the third objective here, 3C, improve internal processes for identifying and addressing Energov issues, is primarily an Information Technology Services Department objective, and that should be complete around the week of 7/18/22. One of the things that ITS is doing currently is looking at different ways to communicate and track system speed and performance issues. That is an ongoing and very broad issue that results in 15 to 45 seconds, sometimes longer delays between each step of permit processing on the city side of things. One tactic that ITS is going to be looking at is purchasing an application performance monitoring tool, so a small piece of software that provides better data on when the slowdowns are happening, what types of modules they're happening in. And so staff are currently looking at options for that and evaluating these types of tools to be able to provide better data on the system speed and slowdown issues, and to be able to communicate that internally to see if that's something that we can fix with our own staff, or if that's something that we're going to need additional Tyler Technologies assistance with. So those are the 3 goals for our 60-day action plan. I've also provided each of you and our stakeholders groups with a week-by-week breakdown of every activity that leads to the completion of the objectives and therefore the goals. And it's going to be a busy summer for us, and we're going to be working with Plant Moran in looking at ways that we can optimize the service, as well as get a full assessment on how we got to where we are, as well as the types of improvements that we need to make to be able to reach the desired outcome of the Energov system that we believe we can reach. So with that, I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much for the presentation and the comprehensive update where we are. And thank you, Mr. City Manager. I'd asked him to put together a 60-day action plan, and I want to make sure that we had clear objections and goals moving forward. with a timeline so we can try to get this resolved as soon as possible. And I'm happy to see the 60-day action plan. So thank you and all your staff for the hard work putting that together. I appreciate that. Councilmember Tate.
That's exactly what I was going to say. He stole my thunder. So thank you, Matt. Thank you, City Manager, for aggressively tackling this as we have requested. I think it's making a big difference. I know in my emails, it's certainly slowing down, and I've talked to Mr. Johnson, and it seems to be just getting better and better every day. So I appreciate the attention. Thank you.
Yeah, and one other thing I wanted to mention, I know we're kind of using it as a pilot program with the roofing permits. I was glad to hear it too with the HVAC, the irrigation. And I do think there's some other additional low-lying fruit, I will call it, that we might be able to pick to get that kind of off of our plate so staff can concentrate on the more detailed type permit applications. So, whether it be, and we'll identify what they may be, but I'm glad to see we're moving in that direction because I think that'll be a huge success and a help to us overall. So thank you.
Didn't we say fences?
Yeah, well, we talked about fences. We talked about, it could be a multitude. And I'm sure moving forward, staff will hopefully identify those and take care of that low-lying fruit, as I mentioned before. Any other comments? Okay. Move on to item 5 is roundtable discussion. Does council have any items they would like to discuss or bring up? Okay, we'll move on to item 6, time and place of future meetings. We have a regular meeting of the Cape Coral City Council. I'm sorry, Mr. City Manager, I just saw your light.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to put a bug in your ear, if I may. We are going to most likely at your next meeting, which is June 1st, staff is going to ask you to consider identifying a date and time to schedule a shade meeting for the purpose of discussing an unsolicited proposal that we have received as of this morning regarding a aquatics facility. And so under 255.065 of Florida statute, that whole process requires that your meetings be held in an executive session as you review and determine whether that is a proposal that you want to even consider. So don't need an answer today, but just know that I think on June 1st, we will be asking you to schedule a date and time for that. Thank you.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, we have June 1st and June 15th, if I recall correctly, for meeting dates. So I guess it's your desire to have that shade meeting at least by June 15th.
That would be my preference.
Okay. All right. All right, a regular meeting of the Cape Coral City Council is scheduled for Wednesday, June 1st, 2022, beginning at 4:30 p.m. here in council chambers. Is there a motion for adjournment? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.